You're not.
We're live.
I'm not supposed to say it. It's like Wayne's World where you go 5, 4, 3.
We're live. Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday Fun Day. We're starting Whiskey Wednesday pretty much 3 days early.
Whiskey Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
We're starting it early this week. There's just like a couple schedule changes with the Tinder Box being busy and everything, but you don't need to know that anyways. And
Yeah, you do, because you should come in and buy gifts at the Tinder Box at Easton.
this coming week, right?
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah, all the time. No.
So this one's going to be kind of interesting, folks. Steve's got a really, really interesting story that him and Nate got to meet a guy today at the Tinder Box, and he came in, actually gave Steve a couple bottles for the podcast here, and that's what we're going to be sipping on tonight is one of them. This is going to be that Old Dominick, Huley Station, very small batch bourbon whiskey coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, which is really interesting.
Just so you know.
And and then we're going to be smoking the CAO Pilon and get into...
Can I say I hate typing on the iPad because the keyboard is just slightly different than an iPhone?
Because it's slightly bigger.
No, but like the explanation, it's not.
It's not the same.
It's not the same, and it's garbage.
Well, we're going to title this one, did we say Here We Go Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go again, folks. We're going to be talking about pretty much the year in review, and that's what we're going to be doing. And while Steve shares everything,
As usual.
and get started, we'll get started on with the audio. But please share this post with your friends so we can build this thing up. And we've really appreciated the growth and everyone sharing recently because, I mean, a couple times ago we had 33 shares, which that was a really, really good turnout. And we encourage you to share more and have everyone share. That would be really, really awesome.
Be really cool, man. Really be neat.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm done here.
You good?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. I don't even. Yeah.
Bear with us, folks. Please.
Just do what I'm doing right now. This is a great opportunity if you're listening early to share this on all your stuff.
Got it.
Oh, good. In fact, I'm gonna share it on the Tinder Box page too. Maybe. There it is.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Eric. Mark.
Share.
Kylie. Hello. How's everyone doing? If anybody's sipping on anything or smoking a cigar tonight, please comment on that and let us know.
Share Tinder Box. Boop. You have to. We always say it every week. I have to do this for a little bit before because you can't share it necessarily before you do it. At least we don't know how to do that, so it's a little bit tedious. But that's part of making this thing grow, which is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So cool, man. I also got an email from Homage. I think there's sales going on right now.
Aaron, where we normally go is just either Kroger and on Sunbury Road in Westerville area. There's a nice one. It's called 1837 on Morris Road in 62, where the old Hoggies used to be. Couple different ones. I mean,
Right by the barn is what it is now.
Yeah, barn. I don't know. Really, I think Ohio's getting better with bourbon selections. But even the one out in Pataskla, if you're still in Pataskla, I'd go to. They get their shipments in on Fridays.
Yeah.
So I would go there and check that out.
All right.
Ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Maybe. We on? Are we doing?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Nate, can you actually lean it back a little bit this way?
How do you want me to move it? Turn
A
it?
little bit towards me.
It's probably good.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Full production here at Bourbon and BS Podcast.
Wait. I'm watching it happen right now. Oh, that's cool. All right, ready?
Yep.
Everyone ready? Let's go.
Hello and happy Sunday Fun Day, Steve. What's up?
Oh, good.
I'm Jake Sanders.
That's flawless.
Yeah, along with Steve Crane, we make up the Bourbon and BS Podcast, episode 46. here we go again. We're going to be talking about kind of our yearly review and a bunch of different stuff tonight. Since it is just Steve and myself tonight, we're going to be sipping on the Old Dominick. We haven't figured out the pronunciation.
That's true. I think Old Dominick.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Although
I don't know.
I think it's a hard K on the end, so that's why we go with.
Nate really screwed me up with the Dominick thing.
Family name.
Dominator.
Oh, there it is.
Dominiac.
Huley Station, very small batch. Coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to be smoking the CAO Pilon.
Corona size.
Did Ricky Rodriguez,
Why don't you look at the band?
blend this?
Why
I'm
don't you
ready
look
to
at
say it. Yep.
He actually has his name all
He's
over
actually
it.
got his name on it.
Yeah.
Shows you how much I pay attention.
It's alright, man. It's alright.
Yeah. So, how's it going? I mean, we haven't had an episode, just you and I, in a long time.
I agree. Yes, it has been a while. So this will be interesting to see where we're at. Episode 46.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting close to our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, that'll be in February.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be good.
How's the shot going? You worked every day this week, right?
Yeah. So I'll be working. That's why we're doing it tonight. So that's why we're doing it tonight on Facebook Live. For those of you that are listening, we're still going to drop it the same on the podcast and YouTube and everything like that. So I don't want to get too far off for people that listen on that part of it.
Unless there's a mob outside and telling them to bang on your door, say, Steve.
Yeah. That's definitely
Drop
likely.
it now.
Check it out on Facebook. Follow the rules is what I'm saying. So don't tell me how to live my life.
But now it's officially holiday season.
I am there pretty much open to close until Christmas. So it's going to be a long week, but that's the way it works. That's where you make the money at the retail stores, and so it should be good. But it'll be a long week
for sure.
So it'll basically be between now and Facebook Live, doing these episodes, going from today, Sunday, all the way through Christmas. On Tuesday will be my day off, and then Wednesday we'll be back and we'll be doing this.
Got it.
So it'll be a long week.
Yeah.
Be good.
Well, first we like to always say, please share it. And for our audio listeners, please leave us a 5-star review. We'd really, really appreciate it. It's how we grow this thing. Please share with a friend. We always like to thank our sponsorships.
That's right.
It's going to be Tinder Box at Easton. Thank you for providing the CAO Pilon tonight. And then our second sponsor is always Altadis USA Cigars. Thank you for providing the Romeo and Julieta Reserva.
We've smoked this before, but
Rothschild.
Nate was in the shop and mentioned that we hadn't done this in a while, and I like this cigar a lot.
I like the size. It's a nice size.
Yeah.
Almost
Rothschild has a bigger Rothschild.
Yeah, don't they call these like double Rothschilds, like in a Cuban-esque?
It's a little thicker than most, and so it's great size. You're absolutely right. I think it's a killer cigar.
Yeah.
I think it gets overlooked by kind of the everyday cigar smoker because it's a Romeo and it's classic looking and it's not the newest or fullest body cigar. So
I think what's interesting is, they put some cigars in these tubes, right?
Right.
And to most people, that's kind of flashy and it catches their eye and they're like, oh, it's in a tube, it must be special. In my mind, I'm like, I can't even see the cigar.
Right.
So how do I know I'm gonna like it?
Well, I mean,
you can't tell by liking a cigar by smoking it, but still, I would like to see the cigar.
I like it. I mean, again, I wouldn't pick it off of purely packaging, but I get what you're saying. You want to see the shade of the wrapper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In your typical walk-in humidor, which is the majority of stores around, you have the ability to actually open it up and look at it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would encourage people to do. But for this one, in our store, a lot of the times, this one's unique because we have like the Monte-Cristo white tube, the quart. That's going to be the same blend as the 3 cigars sitting next to it, so you can kind of see that. But this is the only one in the reserve that we have. So
it's funny during the holiday season though, because everyone always points at the one in the tube.
Yeah, it's great for a gift. It's already gift wrapped.
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Well, if you've never listened to the Bourbon BS podcast before, we talk about our whiskey, we talk about our cigars, and we talk about at the top of the evening again. The topic is going to be kind of a year in review. That's why we called it "Here We Go Again," because we're talking about it all over again.
That's it.
Which is a good thing. Review is a good thing. Reflection is a good thing. We always talk about that, and that's why we do this.
Yes. How was your week, Jake?
It was good. Good.
Cool.
I've been studying a lot for my Series 7, and then they switched it up on us.
Yeah.
So the 66, for those that don't know in the finance world, is kind of like a investor advisor.
Yeah.
Or not investment advisor. So what they've done now is they don't want us to be an advisor role. So we're purely just taking in what our callers are going to call us about and like trading.
Yeah.
Doing options, orders, stuff like that, mutual funds. So we just need the 63 now, which is a much smaller test, which is good. But for those that wanted to move up, they want that 66 and they can't do it anymore. So.
Like it's never going to be available, or they can't do it right now?
Well, unless they get moved up, they'd have to take the 65.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
A lot of 60s.
Yeah. I don't know that much about it. I'm still new to the world.
Yeah.
But I did have an interview as well with Sazerac, for those who don't know. That's the brand that owns Buffalo Trace Distillery too. So yeah, I was really excited about that. The interview went well. So
it did?
Yeah. So
that was yesterday?
Friday. So
nice.
Yeah, kind of an interesting interview setup though. It was like video, but I wasn't talking to anybody. It was kind of like a PowerPoint thing, and it asked me questions, and I had a certain amount of time to answer it. But I'm looking.
Type it in, or you're talking?
Oh, no, I'm talking.
It was a robot?
Yeah.
Shit.
But I'm not talking to myself. I have to read it, and then.
No, not you're not the robot. You were talking to a robot.
I wasn't talking to anybody.
Shit.
Yeah, so I had to read it, and then I was taking a video of myself. It was kind of weird.
Sounds really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do better talking to people anyways, but whatever.
I agree.
So, tell us about this awesome story that you
cool.
and Nate,
yeah.
You know, I came into the podcast tonight, and Steve and Nate are like kind of itching to tell me the story, and they tell me the story, and it's pretty interesting about how the podcast got 2 different bottles tonight, and who's behind it, really.
So as usual with the shop, like you never know who's going to walk in the door. So basically, a gentleman walked in early on in the day. I think, way before you got there, Nate, and he was just kind of walking around, checking things out, and anything we can help you with type things. Like, I'm just going to look around, see what you guys have. Just got in town. And then he asked about, because I had my Bears sweatshirt on, and he was asking about what games we're going to have on. Because it was still like way before, it was like 11 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
And he asked if we were going to have the Bears game on. I said, no, but Fido next door has it. Normally I'd be over there. I don't normally work on Sundays, but we're going to try to stream it. So he overheard us talking about all that stuff. And so we tried to stream it from, Todd, who works in the shop, from his iPad, from his NFL Sunday ticket. It doesn't work. Tried it from my laptop. It doesn't work. And, finally, he's like, well, how are you guys trying to do it? And we said, well, we got an Apple TV, but it's the first generation, so, it doesn't work with the app because you can't download apps. And he said, well, I've got a newer Apple TV on our tour bus, so, I can go get that if you guys want to watch the Bears game. And we're like,
just from the tour bus.
Yeah, he's like,
normal Sunday.
Yeah, so we're like, yeah, that'd be great if you want to. He's like, well, if that means I can watch the Bears game here. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he went and got that, and we started talking about stuff, and turns out he's been a tour manager for quite some years.
Yeah. For
different artists, and he is currently a tour manager for Ashley McBride.
Now, who is that again?
She is, I want to say newer, to my knowledge, newer on the country stations and country music scene.
Yeah.
She toured with, I believe, Eric Church, who I love. I've seen him live. Kylie from Nat Sherman's Listening, she loves this, but Luke Bryan also was someone that this gentleman, which went by the name Sarge. That's what everyone calls him. And Kylie, Luke Bryan's not here, and neither is Ashley McBride. Neither is Sarge, but Sarge basically, he showed us some pictures. But anyways, Ashley McBride has toured with, I think, Eric Church and a couple other people over the years. And she has, I think it's a dive bar in Dalgona. I think it's how you say Dalgona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like the song, and I'll be honest, when Sarge first told me who it was, I was like, oh yeah, Ashley McBride. I was like, off the top of my head, I was like, yeah, I know that name. And then it wasn't until on the way home after the shop between, there and here that I pulled her up and started listening to it, I was like, that's what I thought that song was, and I love the song that hit, the dive bar.
Yeah.
And
what about the, what is it, Barrel 44? Or, that she sang?
A barrel and
45 in the Bible?
Bible and a 44.
Bible and a 44.
So she sings that, and there's a version out there with Eric Church as well, so that was a live one. So I don't know, she's got a great voice. She actually had popped in the shop for a second. And,
that's cool.
But she didn't, I mean, she went straight to him, they were chatting or whatever.
Yeah,
and
like, hey, get your ass back.
I told Sarge, I was like, it looks like she kind of just woke up, and he's like, yeah, they just, finished last stop of the tour. So.
You said they were in New York?
I believe they were in New York.
Wow.
Rochester, I believe. So,
nice.
So he was in Rochester, and this is like a stopping point for the driver of the bus, because you can only do so many hours of service from DOT regulations and stuff like that. So, it's very cool. And at one point, someone was talking about the fact that we're doing the podcast tonight, and he asked, "Oh, you guys do a podcast about cigars?" I said, "Yeah, bourbon and cigars," and then we do a life topic, all that stuff. And so he was leaving again at one point, left his stuff. He's like, "Hey, what kind of bourbon do you like?" And I told him what we like, and all right, I'm gonna see what we have on the bus. And comes back with a Chipotle bag with 2 bottles of whiskey in it.
Yeah.
And just kind of sets it down. He's like, "There you go."
An Angel's Envy, and then the Old Dominick.
Yeah.
So
incredibly generous gifts and nice, and thanks for the hospitality, and that's just the way it goes.
Sarge.
Yeah, thanks, Sarge. I mean, I don't know.
He commented earlier.
Did he really?
Yeah.
On this?
I didn't see it.
Mark Uhas.
Yeah.
Because he said, "Hey, that's me."
Oh yeah. So there he is, Mark Uhas. So that's fantastic. So I don't know if he's still listening. I know he's going to be on the bus tonight. So I texted him and said, "Hey, thanks again. And if you guys are bored on the bus and you want to listen to," I didn't say it like that, but it said if you're bored on the bus.
Oh, I'm sure you said it like that.
I said it like that. I was going to say like you want to listen to a couple idiots in their garage talk about it and drink, but I didn't say that part. They'll figure that out if they're listening.
Yeah, I think he's probably already figured it out. But we hope you're still listening.
We hope you're listening, and I hope Ashley McBride. We were listening to that music before we started because I was telling Jake the story, and then Nate's wife was in here as well. And
we have a new country artist to love.
There you go.
Bingo. Again, Sarge.
Sarge.
Well, we're drinking the Old Dominick that you gave Steve, so thank you again. Again, for our listeners, it's Old Dominick. I'm going to say Old Dominick.
If anyone out there knows what this is actually called and how to phonetically say it, like spell this for us on the...
Yeah. Huley Station, very small batch. Now, you guys laughed when you first read that, but I think it's funny and cool because it's almost paying homage to the old ways, because that's what they did with bourbons, was trying to make them seem nicer and more rare than what they were.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't so popular in the 60s and the 70s. So the very small batch, I enjoy that. It's 100 proof, so 50% alcohol by volume. It's a bourbon whiskey coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, which is pretty interesting. For those that don't know, I'm sure that some of you are probably wondering that why is it not called a Tennessee whiskey, since it's coming out of Tennessee?
But it says that, doesn't it?
No, it's bourbon whiskey.
Right.
Ho, ho, ho!
Don't trip on your way in.
You gotta get in the shot there, Dustin.
Is this gonna happen on every
That's
holiday?
Santa.
I know, but
that's Santa.
I mean,
we've had
come bearing gifts. We've had
4.
Is that 4 interruptions now? 3.
There's been a lot of interruptions.
We've had Mrs. Claus last weekend.
You're telling everyone who that is.
I know.
All right.
I think Steve needs to open his gift.
Damn.
So we have
everything else in here.
you on Facebook can see this.
Damn, Santa.
We've got Santa Claus, Santa Bobby.
Very cool.
Here, and for those of you listening on the podcast, you've probably heard it from the ho ho ho. There's a lot of tape on this, man.
There's 2 pieces.
I know.
You're strong enough. Come on. Do it.
Cole, perfect.
That's what you get, you asshole. Like a bunch of fucking coal.
Woo.
I got Cole.
Yeah.
No, I got my gift. I like
I'm too
this.
fucking nice.
You like that one though. I gave him that
guy.
idea. I gave him that idea.
Don't give him.
Come on, man.
Little lighter
Open
fluid
yours.
that'll go along.
Here we go again.
Open yours. We're open these later, right? We're not doing this now on the air, are we?
We don't
Why
have
not?
Wait,
We
you
don't
know
have
Santa? Like, really? It says from Santa.
to. We don't have to. Do you want to put it back there just for the folks?
Enjoy a good drink, gentlemen.
Are you?
Thank you, Santa.
See you, Santa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boom. Perfect.
Alright. Did Santa swear kick his ass? Yeah.
Well, we know how Steve feels about Santa.
I'm telling you, I think Santa's bullshit, and he's a real nice guy.
Obviously, he's not. He just came in.
Wise Cass say, Santa, I know him. If you don't
Yeah.
open one of those gifts, I'm unsubscribing. I opened one, it was fucking cold.
Show everyone. You didn't pull it out.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Nate,
What
show.
are you
Can you show
saying?
the viewers?
Same, open the gifts. There's the coal
The
right
coal.
there.
That's awesome.
Kyla says, same, open the gifts. Alright, give me a gift. Let's see what's going on here.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being
Alright, yeah, so we still are on the air from an audio standpoint. No, you gotta do it the old fashioned way.
Dude,
So
he,
sorry
like,
about that.
really wrapped these like professionally.
No one paid him, so it's not professional, but it's nice.
Well, it's Santa, so it's professional.
Did you pay him?
It came from the man himself.
God,
Or am I supposed to say woman now?
The elves did.
You're an
Oh,
idiot.
no.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so we're opening the gifts.
What if all this is
for those
coal?
It's a lot of fucking
That's a
coal.
lot of coal.
Just a bag of charcoal. Like, alright, I mean, I have a gas grill. This is ridiculous.
What in the hell?
Yeah, I'm gonna need it at night. It's for G-Leg.
Fred Jeep.
What's in the box?
What's
Eric
in the
says.
box?
I hope this is not too crazy. There's a lot of good quotes going on.
Wait,
there.
before I open this, does anybody have that one grandmother or aunt that like
One-
perfectly like unravels?
Unwraps the gift?
Yeah.
Yeah, my Aunt Gwen.
And then keeps it just
No,
in case
Aunt
it
Gwen.
fits a box like next for next
No,
year.
yeah, it was every Christmas in Chicago. It was literally, it was absolutely that.
My Aunt Rose is like
Yeah,
that.
Aunt Gwen and Aunt Rose, if you guys are listening.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that.
Eagle Rare. Oh,
Nice, man.
nice. I got a Eagle Rare glass. Hopefully it's, yeah, that's not gonna cut me. No, it's cool. So that's a really cool thing. Dustin got me a
Santa.
Eagle Rare. Fuck.
It's
So I
Santa.
put the coal in the glass.
Yeah, probably.
So kind of threw out the
Might change the flavor of the whiskey.
maybe.
Oh, cool.
What is it? Yeah, it's help. There's people literally not being able to see it.
Well, I had to get it out of the box first. So,
Well, the radio.
Four Roses bar mat. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is cool.
Thanks, Santa.
Thanks, Santa.
It's only fitting for like the Bourbon and BS podcast to get cold glasses and a bar mat.
Why didn't you get coal? Was that a group gift? I think it was a group gift.
It's really Santa's decision, Steve. And
Yeah.
I had nothing to do
It
with
was probably, yeah. All right. Well,
it. This was awesome, man. I'm glad Santa came by.
it was very cool.
Yeah. Well,
Very elaborate.
back to the whiskey.
Should have gave Santa a nip before,
Maybe.
I was flying out.
He'll be back probably.
maybe.
Anyways.
The whiskey.
Yeah.
So here's what I remember you saying about it. First off is, why do you think you're gonna like it?
I just tried it and like before I was.
No, but you read up on it real quick, and what was the thing where you're like, oh, guess what? Surprise, surprise.
Oh yeah. So.
Which was a pleasant surprise.
No, yeah. What I do enjoy about the fact that these, Old Dominick, they were honest. They were completely honest. On the back of the label, it says distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, for Old Dominick. For those of you that have listened time and time again, we thank you. But you would know exactly where that is, and that is MGP. It comes from MGP. Even though the distillery is in Memphis, Tennessee. It's kind of interesting. The story goes on Old Dominick is that in 1866, Dominico, Canal Spirits business was booming. Rail cars bearing oak-aged whiskeys rolled in and out of D. Canal and Co. warehouse at Huley Station. So that's where that Huley Station comes from. They're kind
That
of
was the train station?
yeah.
Yeah.
So in any bottle featuring the Old Dominick brand was known to be irrefutably fine, setting the bar for whiskey drinkers far and wide. Today, with the revival of Old Dominick, Domenico's great-great-grandsons, Chris and Alex Canale, are continuing his tradition. Old Dominick Huling Station is a homage to the whiskeys of 1866 Memphis, with a high rye mash bill reminiscent on those offered by Domenico Canale in his heyday. We're sure you'll agree that this very small batch bourbon whiskey will set the bar today, just like the barrels that rolled into Huling Station did over 150 years ago.
We would never know that.
I know.
No one at this point would know that.
But that just goes to show you like how elaborate some of these stories are, you know what I mean? I mean, even if that's true, I mean, that's still a great story. I'm sure some of it's true.
Could all be true, but I'm saying, I mean, I think it's a little presumptuous that we're going to agree that it is just like the ones 150 years ago.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No one knows. There's no one alive today that would be able to back that story.
You know what I will say.
Unless they have barrels from that and they're able to compare it, I think that's.
You know what I will say though is that the taste is a classic bourbon-esque taste.
It's really good. I like it.
It's so for those that are wondering, it's a high rye mash bill, but it is a bourbon whiskey, so it's 52% corn, 44% rye, and 4% malted barley. Off the nose, you know, I told Steve before we got started I needed to get acquainted with it a little bit.
It was a nice introduction, you know, with the little glass.
Yeah, and so I was sipping on it a little bit before, trying to get my feel for it. And you know what I got out of this is, we talked last time about how some smells bring you different experiences, right? And bring you back to different experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with this, I just get apple crisp. Remember when we tried the rabbit hole?
You're talking just the smell, right?
Yeah. We thought with the rabbit hole is green apple, but this is, I think, apple crisp or like honey crisp. It's kind of like
what's apple crisp?
Just like a crisp apple, like a fresh apple.
All right.
That's all I'm getting from it. Imagine like walking through an orchard on a fall day. That's what I get.
Yes. What month and what region?
September, Midwest.
Okay. I don't get it. No, I'm just kidding.
You get any of that though?
Not
the experience, but the apple.
No, I know I'm not in an orchard.
And Nate said cinnamon, so I get that. Very, I don't get a lot of vanilla. There's definitely that classic oak spice, maybe a little molasses back in there.
Yeah.
Good color on the stuff though, honestly. Their bottle comes in almost like if you've ever seen a limestone branch bottle, comes in that
squared off bottle.
Yeah,
By
rectangle.
far. I think it's very good presentation. I will say that.
Yeah.
At the top of it, it says "set the bar."
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the smell, I get what you're saying to a point. It's always tough for me at the end of the day in a cigar shop to really smell all this stuff.
I figured.
But
I didn't get it off the taste though.
The taste I get like that sweet corn.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. But it has that, when you say molasses, I don't know if it's molasses or not, but I think it does have that aspect of that kind of sweetness lingering as well. It's not just that corn, it's that.
Well, it's that rye hitting the back of your tongue, man. It's just sitting there. And that's what rye does. It's that spice, it's got that classic rye spice to it. Off the taste, I think it's really good. I'm pleasantly surprised with it. I'm glad they chose to put it at 100 proof.
Yeah.
I think anything less would have been disrespectful to it, to be honest. And really off the taste of it, I'm still getting a little bit of apple. It's got a lot of fruit notes, man.
I can see that.
Got a lot of banana. I get banana nut bread in
Banana?
there. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're tasting a whole fucking meal here.
I am, man.
Let me ask you this. Are you hungry?
I'm not hungry. This is how much I love whiskey, though.
Are you hungry?
For whiskey, yes. You don't get any banana nut bread? Nothing?
No, I don't get banana nut bread.
Nothing?
I get something, but I don't get banana nut bread.
A little pecan in there?
I don't eat pecans.
Well,
Are you just saying foods?
I believe we're at an impasse.
No, apparently I'm learning. I still get Fritos.
Can I have some more of that?
It's already gone.
You took it off the table, man.
don't want you to get full and not have room for dessert.
I'm not full.
No, Dustin showed up.
No, that's right.
Oh, Dustin, you just missed Santa Claus. It's just like Bruce Wayne and
Damn it.
Batman. Although, the first gift of the coal, the worst part about that, the joke is funny and that there's some dedication to the joke. But the glitter on the box, I feel like is on me now. I don't like it.
Oh well.
I feel like I just came from a strip club.
Maybe that's part of the gift. He keeps giving. You find glitter all the time.
Glitter. I hate glitter. Glitter is when you get the cards, you open up and you pull the card out. It's got glitter on it. Like that shit never stays on there. Now you have it everywhere. It's on your hands and yeah. I've signed glitter cards, like in my car. I'll pull up to like my family, like to a family get together. I just picked up a birthday card or whatever card, and I'm the idiot that picks one that has glitter. And you take the plastic off. It's like really, really nice looking card, and then I get back in my car after the hangout celebration thing, and then there's glitter all over my fucking car. I'm like, God damn it! Like this is not going away. You think you got it, then you turn the wheel, and there's like this one little piece that catches the sun as you're turning the wheel, and you're like, fuck.
I did want to say one thing before we get into the cigar and move on, is that I did mention earlier, most people are probably wondering why this isn't considered a Tennessee whiskey.
Right.
And that's because actually there's only 2 distilleries, I believe, in Tennessee. 3. I don't know the name of the third one, but I do know that there's 3 that they actually have a license now that is considered Tennessee whiskey. So Jack Daniels is one of them.
Yeah.
I believe George Nicholson or whatever.
George Nicholson,
yeah. George Nicholson is the next one, and there's a third one that I can't remember the name of it, but that's why. It's purely based on the licensing purposes.
I don't know why the fact that when I say stuff on here now, I mean, like I got cold. Now, apparently I am an asshole. I hope it's a lovable asshole to a point, which is, I'm getting this because I'm talking about glitter. First of all, Nate says, glitter is the herpes of arts and crafts, which I would absolutely agree with you. It never goes away. You think it's gone, and then it flares up again. And then you got Kylie saying, glitter bomb, coming to Tinder Box at Easton. And then Jeff Anderson says, I know what I'm putting in Steve's Christmas card. Yeah, god damn.
Hey, you're bringing people. George Dickel. That's what it was. Thank you, Kylie.
The Nicholson's the other one that we have.
David Nicholson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think of it? You said it's good though, right?
I actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
this is something. We looked it up. The MSRP was around $40.
Yeah.
So, again, just a killer gift from Sarge. And
I like the whole story behind it, like the Huley station and all the barrels that it's setting the bar is that's their brand.
Sorry.
What is going on?
That's one of the things I love about the community we have at the Bourbon and BS podcast is because now Kylie's saying Nate is the herpes of the Bourbon and BS podcast.
No.
There's a lot of love out there.
Yeah.
Love you too, Kylie.
Apparently a lot of herpes.
Well, Eric says it's worth mentioning that Pilon is Spanish for gift, so it is really appropriate holiday smoke.
Is it really? I didn't know that. This is named Pilon because of the Pilons, the way they put them in. Yeah, the way they put them in the aging months. It'd be more. Jenkins is trying to face.
We're all over the place now.
Sarge says, enjoy, guys. I'll send some more gifts from the road. That's amazing. Sarge, you've been awesome. And if you guys have not checked out
Ashley.
There you go. Ashley McBride.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see if you remembered. And if you haven't checked her out, it's fantastic. So I don't know if you guys are going to stay tuned on. Please enjoy the show and subscribe and like and do all that stuff. We're going to actually, I'd like to put her info out there on our Bourbon and BS because, apparently she gets bottles from people everywhere they go.
Well, she likes whiskey.
See,
it'd be awesome. What would be amazing is if we could get her on here. Now, I know that's a hard,
that's asking a lot
to
of
sell.
Sarge. But
I know.
Hey, by year 2, we're getting into
cool.
it. We're getting there. We perfected that, and by perfected I mean we sometimes got it right with people calling in. So we'll see what we can do on that. But
that'd be awesome. I'd just like to drink whiskey with her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. Now I'm gonna see when she's coming in next tour. Like if she's coming back through town, hopefully next year we'll definitely go to that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pilon, we'll get to that, right? CAO Pilon, might as well. Because Eric kind of segued into it. But yeah.
Thank you everyone for bearing with us too, by the way. We're really
Sarge says that she is nominated for a Grammy for Country Album of the Year. God damn.
Congratulations.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
So that's fantastic.
Just learning all sorts of things.
So definitely check her out. Great voice. Great voice.
Very amazing.
CAO Pilon, something that Ricky Rodriguez, we talked about Ricky on the podcast before. He is the master blender, the face of CAO.
If I'm not mistaken, we have him scheduled, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's April. I got to check the calendar, but he's going to be in town in April. He'll be in town hopefully for the Smoking 10 event as well, but he's going to be in town in April. So that's something that we'll look forward to going forward. Yeah, that you're looking that up.
Yeah.
But that's great that he wants to be on the show. So we'll have him in the garage. It'll be in the new garage if all goes well. I guess we talked about the fact that Steve's garage may be moving a short distance. So hopefully
across the street.
More or less.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so Ricky Rodriguez will be on. So we'll have maybe something new to smoke from him. But he put his name on this one, which I love. This is a cool looking band and box. But if you look on the back of it, where the graphic is, the graphic, that's more or less what a Pilon is in the cigar industry. So it's you basically go in kind of a circle, you stack the leaves, and the pressure from just being in a hot barn and everything, and where they store it, that will then kind of push down naturally, creating heat. And that's one of the techniques they use to, in a manner of speaking, ferment it. And that's why they do that. They go through and they rotate it as well.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask that.
No, they rotate it as well, but that's a way of doing it. It's an old school way of doing it, but that's why they named it that. And I like this band just because it does have the name on it. It's got the size on it, because each band is unique to the size.
It reminds me like a Bottled and Bond, if they ever had something like that for
full
cigars.
Disclosure.
Yeah.
And then it even says wrapper, Habano, Ecuador. You know, binder and filler are all Nicaraguan tobacco. I'd say it's medium bodied. I think this is a nice classic tasting cigar.
Good job, Ricky. Did he do the marketing, or does he have a marketing team, man?
That I don't know.
Well,
if Jonathan Herring tunes in here, we can ask him. But,
whoever did it, good job, Ricky. Good job, Jonathan. Marketing, man.
I think it goes well with this bourbon.
Yeah, it's interesting because I tried don't we have a 60 ring gauge at the shop?
We used to have a 60. We've got a big Torpedo. We've got a Robusto, and we have this Corona. I like this Corona.
I tried the 60, and I thought it had a weird spice to it. And I don't know if that was because of the Pilon, the action of that, or what, but it just seemed like it had a different dry spice to it. Now this Corona, however, I do agree I like this size better.
Yeah, we need to get you smoking more of the Corona sizes and Robustos again.
Yeah.
Because so that's the thing, right? A lot of times the mentality with the bigger cigars is the fact that you can get more bang for your buck type thing. You're going to be smoking for a longer period of time, which I get. Like when I'm working or if we're going to be hanging out for a while, it's nice to light up a bigger cigar, because if you're lighting up a bigger cigar, you have more time. You don't feel like you're smoking a pack of cigarettes and I burned through 6 cigars where I could have just burned through 2 or 3. But to the point of, it's funny how in sync the two industries are now.
Oh yeah.
People don't think twice about necessarily buying, when you're getting into bourbons or you're getting into whiskeys, you want to try different stuff, so you're trying different price bottles and having sips of it. You don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, you'd still be drinking Jack Daniels, you'd still be drinking, Jameson, you'd still be drinking Jim Beam, you'd still be like these that are like more bang for your buck. I can drink this shit all night long and not have to worry about breaking my bank.
I like the aftertaste on this Corona size a lot.
Tastes like Fritos, right? With the whiskey.
Nope.
All right.
It's definitely
another impasse, are we?
Yeah, I mean it's got like, I'm still on this nutty thing. Like
you say banana nut bread again.
I don't get that on
you
a
get
cigar.
That on a goddamn cigar.
I get nuts.
Like you are hungry.
I get nuts off of it.
I know you get nuts.
I get nuts off of it.
Oh, I think I said often.
Mm-mm.
Right.
No. I get a nuttiness off of it. Not like...
What kind of nut? I mean, again, you're talking to someone that doesn't eat nuts. I'm allergic to peanuts, as far as I know.
It's
Still,
got like an almond thing.
anyone else? Guys? No?
No.
Studio owners, they're booing you.
No, they just didn't agree. No, but I like it. The pairing's good.
I agree. I think the pairing's really good. I get when I say Fritos, all right. So I said that was last week.
You get that again with this?
I actually do with this, and I think what's happening is if I've got a little bit of like saltiness from the cigar.
So you're giving me shit.
I am not joking.
You're giving me shit on food flavors, and then you start talking about Fritos with whiskey.
But that's an actual food, and I do get
a
that.
nut is a food.
Yeah, it's salted corn chips is what I'm going with, and I think this is I got a little bit of
I'm going
salt.
with pecan. I don't get
Fritos.
Fritos. I don't get Fritos from it, but I don't think you're.
I'm bringing back Fritos. I don't eat chips anymore, really, but I'm bringing in some Fritos, and you're gonna.
Can't you just be craving that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they are good though.
So you're giving me
These are
shit.
Fritos
You're giving
scoops.
me. I'm just trying to. I'm letting our
The
listeners.
Frito scoops with like some nacho cheese.
I'm trying to give you this full story here. So you're giving me shit about picking up food flavors, and you're talking about Fritos.
Yeah, Dustin says pecan. I thought it was almond. Well, it was pecan first, and then it was almonds. Now it's back to pecans. You're just naming nuts.
We're talking about two different things. We're talking about the whiskey that I was getting.
That's the pecan.
Yeah, and then
Almonds
you're
with
getting
this.
almonds with
Wow.
the cigar, and a little bit, I almost thought that this was a cigar that was wrapped in cedar because it has a cedary essence to it.
It does actually. I'll give you that.
Well, I get 1 point.
No, I'm saying I agree with part of it.
Yeah.
I don't have any frame of reference on almonds or pecans, or really banana nut bread for that matter.
Yeah.
Fritos, that's something I can wrap my head around.
Alrighty then.
Apparently, I'm uncultured and I don't have much of a palate.
It's a really good pairing though, I think.
It is good actually.
Off the the rip, we got another good pairing. So for those that are wondering,
Do they sell this in Ohio?
I've never seen it before in my life.
I think it's really good.
I've never seen it in Kentucky either. And it's hard to miss too. It's got a big freaking red label, and then it's a square rectangular bottle.
So they're in Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis,
That's
Tennessee.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm guessing.
Huh.
I'm guessing off the taste. I'm guessing it has more of a Southern culture. And what I mean by that is it's probably
I'm curious on that one.
sold more in Southern states.
Probably look this up though.
I've just never seen it.
I think it's a good one. $40.
I mean,
Not something like good. I mean, like you compare it with other ones. I get $40 is definitely a good ballpark. If you get it for cheaper, that would be killer. But
I'd like to see it at like 30. I think that's where it is, but if they're revamping the brand, then
I just look at it as
kudos to them.
I feel like, and with the glass being on the table that was from Santa here, is that Eagle Rare. I think that's kind of your benchmark for that mid 30s, 35.
Well, that's my end all be all.
I think that's amazing, but I'm saying I would say it tastes different, but it's easy drinking. It's got a lot of flavor, and it's not like what we talk about like IW Harper where you just keep kicking it back because it's like water, but it does have some substance to it. But it's got good flavor and it's not too hot, so
How cool is that glass though?
it's super cool.
For our viewers. So we didn't tell the listeners this, but Santa brought Steve an Eagle Rare glass, and I don't think a lot of you know what that means. So there's a kind of a trend out there where people are taking empty bourbon bottles, and if they're kind of more like a tube,
Yeah,
they just cut it at the very bottom,
yeah,
and then throw the rest away, and it makes for a really cool rocks glass.
yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, some people have used the top parts of it. If they do the opposite, then they'll like actually put like lights in it.
Yeah.
They can do that on some of them. We used to have, so my older mate, Chris, the Dominator Dominick, he had some Jameson glasses that his girlfriend at the
I
time
like
made.
that.
Yeah, so yeah, like, it was kind of cool, like the green, a little bit wider base, it was nice.
A lot of people are making candles out of them, like they're just top.
Connor just got a Jameson Vintage bottle.
Cool. Candle?
One candle that was the old Jameson Vintage.
I thought about doing
label.
that like as a side business because like I saw this glass cutter
Mhm.
and it was like $30-40, and you can the problem is you can only use it on round bottles,
Mhm.
but you could do that, and then if you buy wicks, put a wick in there. And
Well, and that's where it'd be cool if you had some sort of good talent to do something with something like this Old Dominick bottle, if you cut it right above that label,
Yeah.
and then make a massive candle out of it,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
that would be, I mean, with the way this glass
It
kind of
looks
has
like
a
a
little
candle.
bit of, yeah, I mean, it almost has a little bit of wavering in some of the glasses. There are a little bit of imperfections in my opinion, but it's also very clear. Oh, there's Connor.
Nice.
Pause this.
Kylie's gonna be so pissed.
No, he didn't know.
I know.
He didn't know. So everyone on Facebook, I just paused it. He didn't know we were doing the podcast tonight because it is Sunday, and I'm pretty sure he's probably been out drinking all day. So
Is he
let's
gonna
see what's going on here.
Yeah,
We're gonna get to meet the famous Connor Hart here.
he's got the
What? Oh, you want some more?
he's got the radio cranked up.
So this is the fancy studio that we have here. And I hope he doesn't sit in his car for a while because we'd like to keep going here. Let's.
Thank you, everyone.
Might as well take this opportunity to save it here.
Yeah.
Make sure you save and share it.
Quick word of our sponsorship. Thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, and thank you, Altadis Cigars USA, Romeo and Huley, Monte Cristo, H. Upman, Aging Room, and thank you, BS Cigar Company. I think we missed that the first time. So,
Yeah, we did.
but yeah.
You go ahead and keep entertaining. I'm gonna go tell my roommate here. So again, top-notch production here.
Yeah.
Still recording, Jake.
Yeah, I know. So again, our second cigar of the day we'll probably start up is going to be that Romeo and Julieta Reserva, coming in that tube. Does Kylie like the garage door? Yeah, Nate. Kylie, if you're still there, do you like that garage door? What's up, Connor?
So you get to meet all the people on Facebook if you want. It's right there on the phone.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, good luck, people.
Thanks for the support. See you, buddy.
Cover your ears.
At least we graced the garage. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Let's see where we're at here. That's
Second half of
another
the-
first. That's almost as unique as the cricket.
Yeah.
I think Kylie would prefer the cricket over the garage door.
Live editing, folks. Live editing, folks.
What'd you get, Jake?
What?
What did Santa bring you?
Oh, I got that bar mat, man.
What bar mat?
That was awesome.
All right, let's keep going.
I don't even know where we were at. Sorry, I forgot you were there.
So I think that it would make a perfect candle, at least with this bigger glass.
The Old Dominick.
That's right.
Got it.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. The next way to cut glass that I've seen is kind of interesting, but if you like heat up like just a steel wire, it's very janky, but that's one
You
way to do
heat
it.
up a steel wire and
Yeah.
then just like
Yep.
force it through there.
Yeah. If you heat it up hot enough.
It's old school, man.
Yeah, and then take a file and file off this, smooth off the edges. I know that was the first thing you checked on that glass to see, so you didn't
Oh
cut it
yeah, you
off.
don't want. Yeah.
It's actually a relatively thick glass.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that it's a whiskey bottle, but
There's another way where you take a piece of twine, wrap it, soak it in alcohol,
Just
wrap it around, set it on fire, and then
pull
put the
it.
bottle underneath cold water. And
what's the newest way of doing this?
That bottle cutter I showed you.
Okay, that's all right.
So Eric just said what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can do it. I think some of them are a little bit safer than others. Watch a YouTube video is all I'm saying. At least a YouTube video for a tutorial. I mean, don't just go in there.
Yeah,
blind.
get your knowledge from
Yeah,
YouTube.
get it from a certified YouTube channel.
Got it.
But I mean, anyone that just posts a video. Or listen to us. We obviously know everything we're doing, so.
I definitely do. I don't know about you.
I don't. Kylie says a dull pair of scissors also works.
Nope.
I think she's a dull pair of scissors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love you, Kylie. That might see the drop down on the line here. And -1. All right.
No,
See
the glitter bomb.
the glitter bomb.
So here we go again, right?
Here we go again.
Yeah. We've been through the whiskey. We've been through the cigar.
We didn't talk about the cigar much, so we might come back to that a
that's
little
true.
bit.
Well, go on.
No, I think we don't need to because we will have Ricky on in future episodes. So we we've talked about him before. It's something that I really respect Ricky. He's supported us here in Columbus, Ohio, and now he wants to support the podcast, which is great. So
he's always a blast. In the shop.
Yeah, he's very personable, very funny, and just a genuine person.
Yeah, he is for sure. Love to have his job. To be honest, it'd be awesome to blend cigars on a daily basis.
That's right.
Well, I mean, so how do you think this year has gone? Man, we started in February, so it's basically a new year for us, and we've almost got a full year in by the end of 2018. So it's been definitely a ride for sure. And
yeah. So for some of the newer listeners and viewers, go back and check out some of the ones that we've done, because at that point it's something that we've grown, I'd say. Because we started with the Whiskey Wednesdays where we were just
I feel like you wanted to say something else, but you stopped yourself.
No.
So where was that going?
No, I don't know. Look, anyways, I think that we've grown a lot, which is fun. I think obviously our viewership and our listeners have grown. So we're on to something here. It's something that was common. There are a lot of people out there that like to do what we're doing, in a sense where they get together, they have a couple. It's simple as not even whiskey, but they have a couple drinks. They might smoke a cigar, they grill out, they do something, but it's something where you actually get away from your everyday.
Yeah.
And take a moment for yourself, for other people, to reflect, to talk about things that are going on, to have some sort. It's like a daily devotional almost for some people, or a weekly devotional for some people. That it's not just about a therapy session like we joke about sometimes, but sometimes that does help. Is that you can talk to someone else.
It's like a reversed AAA meeting.
Did you say AAA? Like your car's broken down?
Or AA meeting.
Or if your car's broken down, you need to talk to someone. If your car's not, you have a AAA membership.
I didn't mean
just slash your tire and go flat, and then you can have someone to talk to.
But it's like a reverse.
But you can only do it like twice a year, because I think they charge you after that.
You go on these rants, man.
I'm just listening to what you're saying.
I messed it up. It's not a AAA meeting. It's a AA meeting.
I was kind of saying the opposite, was that it's not necessarily just a therapy. I guess what you're saying with an AA meeting, you have something in common, and it's not always a problem, but that's where that's at. But it's you can actually share what you're going through, what you've gone through, all of that good stuff.
David asks, what kind of chips do you offer for this reverse AA meeting?
Chips?
Yeah. I think he's based off of the
Fritos?
Yeah.
No, in AA, when you go so long.
Oh yeah. Chips for so much time sober.
Interesting.
Yeah, for every year.
I like it. We have to. Oh, that might be something we'll have to look into.
What?
Just so Espinosa just started something there with. So Eric Espinosa just started the Espinosa Elite, where you can do a year membership.
Yeah.
I don't know, David, if you're asking. So we've been looking at that Pelotonia.
Yeah.
It's
the
basically
bike thing.
Not the bike thing. It's something that basically that you can contribute small amounts of money, big amounts of money,
patron.
Jesus,
yeah. Steve, that is Pelotonia. This is the bike thing.
Yeah, we're gonna ride bikes. All right, AAA.
When you need batteries, call me.
What? Or someone to talk to.
Yeah.
No, that might be something we do. Is that if you do...
I'd like to do the patron thing.
Yeah, we talked about that. That might be a good way to do the t-shirts we've been talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've been needing to do that. Well, so that's one thing is, we've been talking about getting t-shirts, and I think at one point in time we were like, we're going to mention the t-shirts like one day, and that was like 4 months ago, so... And that's one of those things where
That's the year in review.
What?
That's part of the year in review.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I had Eric call me for some stupid
He's also
reason.
calling the iPad.
So, I don't know what you need, Eric, but don't call me while we're doing this podcast. But I think with the whole shirt thing, like that's one of those things where we've grown and we might say something that's going to happen and it changes and we're trying to do one thing and trying to do another thing and it's all over the place, and I think we're still in our early. I mean, it's not even a year.
It's not even a year.
And then the people that we talk to, they're kind of amazed, like what we've already accomplished with the viewership and the amount of love and support that you guys have given us and to our listeners. And it's interesting, you know, looking back on it and seeing, you know, either if we like had arguments after the podcast, if we disagreed on stuff like at the beginning, and there's still a part of me that wants to just do like a whiskey thing, because I still feel like that's where my hub is and that's my niche. But this has granted me a way to, you know, let some steam off and you know, tell you guys about, you know, my life, and gives Steve a chance to tell him about his life and how we both have, you know, grown in the problems that we're either dealing with, and that really encompasses the whole, you know, cigar community, because that's where this really started. That's where Steve and I met, in the cigar shop.
It's for a lot of us, that's in the community. You know, we talked about even Sarge today. You know, that we met today, and now we have a listener here now. If he tunes in going forward or shares with other people, it's just a matter of, it's one of the things that I like about this podcast is that in the year in review, looking back, we've talked about so many topics. We've smoked a lot of different cigars. We've drank a lot of different good whiskeys. And even now, it's every week we try to plan weeks in advance. And some weeks it's tough. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We don't know what we're drinking. We don't know what we're smoking. We don't know a lot of these things. But the part of it that's fun is that even if we repeat some topics or we dive back into, mention stuff that we realize we've talked about before, the perspectives overall, I think, stay consistent. But there's a lot of growth there.
Yeah, and at the beginning, we didn't know, you know, we knew it'd be hard to get our scheduling done, and now it seems like it's almost synonymous, autonomous.
Yeah.
Because it seems like either people are saying, can I be on, and stuff like that, and it just recreates, and we don't really have to sit down like we were at the very beginning saying, okay, well, let's plan out like the next 4 to 5 weeks. So we got so-and-so.
We're going to have to, though. I mean, that's something I think we did learn that going forward.
I get that, but
we have people that want to get on here.
Well, now what I mean by it's coming autonomous is because every week it's just a random day, and it's like, hey, I got so-and-so. Well, okay, and we've already had 3 weeks covered, so then we already have 4 weeks covered if we add another person to that. So you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that's easier, and I think that's what it will become, because you know, you have more guests, you have more people, you have more viewers, you have more listeners, you know, and it just grows and grows and grows, and that's what I like about it. I think when you're starting something, it's like last week, we were talking about that subject, is when you're starting something, it's super hard to get it rolling, and now I think we're actually rolling.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kylie just said, when does the topic suggestion poll begin? That's always open. I mean, so you guys, if you want to hear something, if you're part of the listening crowd there, our viewers or our listeners, if you want to talk about something, we can always get you on as a guest remotely. That's something that we're going to really dive into more often going forward.
Give us suggestions on different topics that you would like us to talk about, too. We did do that at the very beginning. We kind of let off because it just didn't seem like no one gave a shit.
I like that lightning round one that we did.
Yeah, that was interesting.
The topics, that was good. I like that.
Start talking about the porta potty at the end of it, man. That was.
I mean, sometimes that comes up. An everyday conversation that happens more often than you'd like to think.
Oh yeah. No, and that's I mean, that's why we named it. It's like, here we go again, because it's like, not to say like this is something that we always talk about or we always do, and you're not missing anything, but just. Right. You know, it's revamping and reviewing the year, and it's interesting to go back on old podcasts and look and listen to them, where it's like when Dustin was on like the first 20 or so, or like the first
he helped out a lot.
And we were having issues with guests, and we had Brad Grimsley on twice, and then we had a big Cuba episode. I still love our very first podcast where we had Josh and Mike on. Yeah. Where, you know, it was freezing that night and we weren't supposed to do it, and we ended up just rolling with it, and ended up becoming like 2.5 hours of, I thought was gold. So.
It was more raw, and I think that's something, so you see that. I see that with TV seasons. right? There's always that like that season 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that ballpark. You have a great idea. Everyone gets in there.
I know what you're thinking.
No, hang on. I'm not going to bring. I can bring up examples, but I think what happens is the writers they have this idea of a long-term show, but they go pure at first. They know what they're trying to do. Some of it's set up for long-term, but a lot of it is if we get canceled within a year or two, like we want to have a good show. The way that we started doing this was we went back and forth a lot, and I think that's a big part of growth on something. That bottle's not lasting, is it?
Probably not.
Yeah, you're liking it.
I do like it.
Good.
Tastes like banana nut bread, man. And apples.
When was the last time you had banana nut bread and apples together?
Probably 2 or 4 falls ago.
You just were just snacking on apples and banana nut bread.
Yeah,
Or the apples.
Isn't that like a fall thing to do?
I mean, apples are all year round. First of all,
You're having like a super hard time with this.
no, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it and learn.
Yeah, but apples, you pick apples in the fall. At least you do in the Midwest.
All the time. Where do the apples come from in the summertime?
Lynn's Fruit Farm. But you pick them at the end of July, August, September.
What I'm saying is that I think that the growth comes from you come out strong. We had a lot of issues at first because we were trying to figure things out. We had, if you listen to the earlier episodes, they were different than they are now, which in a lot of good ways and some negative ways, where we were trying to find our place in the whole podcast world and everything else. But you know, I like what Eric Black says right there is podcast review in year, which I must be drinking. Year in review, I think he meant to say. You are unique in that many podcasts record and drop with no audience interaction, so that is a positive for you garage guys. So that's the things that we're hitting different audiences. At first, if you remember, we didn't do anything. We were just recording the podcast and dropping it. Then we tried to do short stints on Instagram Live.
Yeah, because
for parts of it. Well, we didn't do full episodes at first, and then it was like we did a full episode, and we were like setting it up in random spots that we could, the phone wouldn't fall over. Or we had the one where we kept passing the phone around.
Yeah.
And then we...
Oh, shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Well, the picture you took that you shared from one of the earlier episodes, it was a picture of me and someone's hand holding, I think it was Dustin or someone holding the camera or the phone.
Kyle took the picture, though.
Kyle took the picture of the person holding the phone, and then we did the tripod thing, and now we've done, we went to Facebook, so it's constant evolving, and that's what I think the year in review is about. Is you have a project, you have an image, you have a vision, and we talked about brand image a couple of weeks ago, which I liked.
Chase said political correctness was the best episode with the best guest. Well, that was because Che was the guest.
He was the guest. And actually, that was a good episode.
That was a good one.
That one was one that I think for the first time, we really flirted with the line of are we going to...
I'm glad you do it because you don't want to talk about politics. I don't either, but you're way more, not even negotiable about it. Than...
I have no problem talking about politics. I don't want it to go down the hole completely where then it's just you either... I don't know. It's not... There's a part of me that you don't want to turn off listeners, but at the same time, if that's all that turns them off from one episode or one guest view, that's not really a loyalty thing, because the whole point of this audience and our community here and in the cigar shop is that you can talk about anything, but you don't want to really dive down a religious one.
No.
You don't want to dive down a political one. If you do that, you should let people know that that's what you're doing that night. And
I don't think we would ever do that, though.
That's the whole thing about the political correctness.
That's been one thing, for the people listening, that's been one thing that Steve and I have had to figure out too, is that I assume a lot that, and I have the best, I guess, image in mind on what's going to happen, and you want it more clear-cut, known, thought out, said, or,
Well, there always has to be when you're doing something like this, and when you look back and you're looking forward at the same time, is that you want to learn from what you've done, and at the same time you don't want to necessarily shoot yourself in the foot or set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Oh. Nate, you might want to crack that window.
Get stuff.
We're hotboxing. Progress, not perfection. I think that's great. From Kylie, I think that's a great point. Also, Phil, that is also a great point. That Che is full of bullshit. The Phil and Spence off script was best episode. And Phil, that's the thing. That was not supposed to be off script. That's where, it's all personal opinion.
Well, what normally happens is we'll get done with the podcast, and then we'll sit here for a few moments, and then we talk about the podcast, and then whoever the guest is, that's when they unload on everything, and we're like, where was
that
this?
That was good with Che.
Yeah.
That was good with Sidrak, but the one we had with Sidrak on there, he
Even
did the one where, were you here with Sidrak when he was in the audience? I can't remember if that was
that when his buddy Ben was here and Ben went off?
No, I don't think
that was when I was on vacation, and you guys had the Limes, or the IW Harper.
Oh.
And Ben was it Ben that was on or on the audience, and he went on a riff off screen.
No, that was Sidrak. That after the fact.
Oh.
Sidrak came on after we were sitting on the table, and he just started laying into life issues and how much sitting in the audience meant to him, because he started listening to the conversation, and he was hitting home on point after point after point, and then all of a sudden he just lays into everything. And we're just all right, you gotta be on the show.
I've got it recorded.
Oh yeah. So Dustin actually pulled out his phone and did a B-side recording of everything.
Well, that's how I heard it, because I wasn't even here. But I think that's what sets us apart from, Steve and I both listening to Andy Frisella, and I like some of what Gary Vee has to say, and even our friends at Business and Biceps and stuff like that. I think that's what sets us apart, because it's not. These guys, some of them are experts, and they want to say they're experts, but I don't think they're experts in life. I think they're businessmen at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think when the only thing that annoys me about it, and what I like about this podcast, is the fact that it's always a motivational hoopla.
Yeah.
All the time, and that's good and all, and people need that, but not all the time. I don't need to be yelled at and talking about how it's not Monday doesn't even matter or whatever. Get off your ass and do something. People don't need that all the time. Here we actually sit down, we have a glass and we have a cigar, and we talk about stuff. It's not giving you a hoopla on how to live your life. At least I don't feel that way, and that's why I don't think I do that, and I don't want to do that.
I don't think you do it. I think some of the topics do go down that route. I mean, I like when we get it. I mean, that was one of the things we I don't want to say disagreed about necessarily, but at one point we did, where again we talked about how originally it was Bourbon and Cigar, and you really wanted to go down that route, and then it was I wanted to have the aspect, and we talked about it, and through a lot of drinks and then some sober conversation, we talked about it frequently over the last year. And I think we've come to a happy medium so far.
But I think what we arrived at is we wanted this to be discussion based.
Right.
It's not an advice motivational podcast.
No, but sometimes it is. It's just not over the top like you're saying. It's not based on that. I think people find that. I think sometimes both of us, our guests, also get into it. Is that, there's a lot of things where you do get into something where you have a strong opinion about it. But I agree with you that some of those that I like listening to, like the ones you mentioned, I enjoy that stuff, and when I don't want to listen to it, that's where I think some people will just be turned off forever. But for me, it's I take a couple weeks off from some podcasts. I take a couple weeks off from listening to even music or anything else, movie styles, any of that stuff, because I don't need it all the time. But sometimes I find myself back to it, or I'm I wonder what that podcast is talking about today. A lot of it is shared stuff, but just like anything, it's I look at it as when you go to a seminar or something for work.
Yeah.
And you get in that rut. So you get in that rut as far as your day-to-day job, or day-to-day relationship, day-to-day drive, commute, gym, all that stuff. And your workouts have become stale, your job life has become stale, even your relationship is stale, and then you wake up, and that's some of the podcasts we've had. I think some of the topics is trying to have that, don't just sit there, do something. I thought that was a great one. And that was an inspirational one in a sense.
Yeah.
But it was more of, to your point, it's not scripted. There's no bullet points or anything like that. It's literally who's sitting down next to us, and how do we try to frame a conversation and then see where it goes.
But it's still
that's the big part about it.
It's still a discussion.
It is.
That's what I mean. It's not you just telling someone what to do with their life.
No, you're not barking at them.
And the reason why I get tired of that so much is because it's everywhere. Everybody wants to be a motivational speaker, and they don't know shit. And it's
But
like
the ones you mentioned, I feel like they do know a lot.
they do because they're businessmen
experience.
and they've created these multi-million-dollar businesses, and I understand that.
Yeah.
I know I can empathize with that. And,
Okay.
But here it's discussion based. We're talking around the table, and you get to see what we're talking about and listen to what we talk about.
And we get to listen to you, which I like.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one thing it's brought out a lot in me where, you know, before we started this podcast, there's no way that I would have been able to do the interview at Sazerac on Friday if I hadn't been doing this before.
Really?
So you want to talk about, like, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, I think this podcast, if I do get that job, you know what I mean, I think that would be a good way to say that's the podcast happened for a reason for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to do that, because it's just, like I said, it was just me holding my phone and the camera was on me and I'm basically talking to myself.
Yeah.
And it's weird trying to focus on how you look and how you want it to be portrayed, but also give valid points and answer the questions that they were asking.
It's like, yeah, I mean,
and it was only 8 questions, and then you had 2 minutes, and you could actually see the time. So, on top of everything, you're watching the time like go down.
That's intense.
Yeah,
that's really intense.
But
if you go before the technology, that's literally you sitting in a room with a timer
yeah,
that someone else is controlling, and you're looking like to imagine like you're looking at a two-way mirror.
yeah.
So you're literally just like sitting like in a desk, and there's like a mirror, and all you see is yourself, but you know they're looking at you.
It's like an interrogation.
It's like an interrogation, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's very intimidating.
No, but I mean that's one of those things where I'm glad we started this podcast, because that's one of the many things that I've noticed about myself growing and being able to talk to people and being able to articulate things a little better, and you know, being comfortable in my own skin, really.
I think that's part of the growth. I mean, the other aspect of what we're
You're
saying.
used to talking, so.
You know, it's not even that. I mean, I've found that as this is going on, there have been more and more weeks recently, and again, maybe that's just coming down to the winter and not having the resurgence of motivation in my life. You know, so that's something that I have to listen to as well, because again, that's all part of the rut. Even doing this would be something that if you do it week in, week out, and there's not a whole lot of other interaction in your life that's feeding you new stimulating topics or just knowledge that you're trying to soak in, or even just a refresher course of what you're doing, there's no new experiences. So when you're supposed to talk about topics or come up with them, you're supposed to talk about bourbons, there's, again, we've talked about, there's only so many ingredients that can go into a bourbon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cigars the same way. It's like you do this long enough, and I mean, you can really geek out on it. And that's what, honestly, I've told you before, I lose interest when you go straight into it full blow.
I know you do.
But I mean, I was joking with you about what you're tasting. I think that part is cool. But when you geek out on it, I'm like, no, this tastes just like another cigar that I had. This is the one. I can compare this.
Yeah.
But it's...
But my thing about like cigars, like for someone like you, like I remember when we first met, and I was like super geeked out about bourbon. I talk about it all the time. And you were more of an Irish drinker.
Right.
And
drink like an Irishman.
And I talked to you about cigars, and it was just like every review, like live for us, was like, oh yeah, like this is whatever, so, not whatever, but you'd give me like a few things about it. Like Steve's thing is, you know, I don't mean to speak for you, but I think yours is like the construction of the cigar, whether it draws good or bad, and then if it's medium or full or mild body. Other than that, like you don't geek. It amazes me how you don't geek out about cigars.
I don't remember that episode.
Like I think you
I know what you're talking about,
would. You know what I mean? You know, for someone to be in the cigar industry and manage a cigar shop for almost 6 years now. I mean, it's
6 years in January, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting that you. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just interesting that you don't like go into crazy notes and like, you know, cigar aficionado, and it's not a bad thing or a good thing.
So,
it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I find it interesting.
Yeah, and read that comment from Eric and see if you remember what he's talking about, which episode that is. Because we talked about that after the fact, as far as why I was doing that, especially earlier on.
Oh, I do remember talking. I don't know what episode it was,
Yeah.
but I definitely remember saying It's probably one of those nights where I went off on a tangent, but
Yeah.
I definitely remember like saying, it might have been Che, honestly.
Okay.
Maybe before that, but yeah, I was talking to, Steve about, we were talking about the podcast and on live and saying how, Steve's more comfortable speaking and the podcast has given me that voice almost, and it's
You definitely churched up what Eric Black just said.
it's made me, well, he said like where you admitted to not talking as much as Steve because he has an aggressive personality and tends to overwhelm others very easily. Yeah, I think that's one of those things. It's about like your persona.
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, a lot of people didn't talk to me because I was like the guy that always lifted. I was always quiet and I wore my Letterman's jacket and I just stuck to myself. So I had that persona of walking firm, straight up, big chest. Like that's just how I walked.
Yeah.
You have a deep voice. You're fit. It's one of those, and your voice projects. So when you're talking,
right,
it's a little bit different than me talking because you demand that ownership and the.
That's always been a learned thing. Everyone's like, I think.
I forget the word, but the I don't know.
No, it's funny though. I mean, and I get what Eric's saying, and I don't take offense to that. I mean, we talked about that where I'll address two things. First, I want to talk about what you were saying. As far as not diving further into it. It's one of those things in my, I'm of the opinion, the fact that, you can dive into it, but I enjoy that stuff, but I smoke so many different cigars. I enjoy smoking for different reasons. I never go full geek on any of this stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just my personality overall. You talk about being fit. I've never gotten into a point where, even when I was super lean, and I'm trying to get back to that right now because I have a realization recently that I've kind of really been through a year of dealing with different levels of, we talked about like the medications and things like that and all that stuff. But
2018 was not an easy year, man.
But what I'm saying is that even like when I was super lean before, like we had people when I started joining Lifetime Fitness here, there were guys in there and even like girls that I talked to that I saw on a regular basis, like, what are you competing for? Like, are you training for something? Are you whatever? Because that was the persona I was giving out. I never really changed anything other than like diet tweaks and training techniques. I'm always growing a little bit, but I never go, like we had Mike McGovern on here. I never wanted to be a competitor in like bodybuilding or strength training. Like you had that aspiration at one point and might come back where you want to be a power lifter. It's like, it was never about that. It was always about maintaining. And I think when I look at stuff like the cigar side of it, it's not about maintaining, but it's just about helping people discover new cigars or taking it. And that's one of the things that Brian, the owner of Tinder Box, has always been good at. It's not just necessarily talking about, what's important to me is not describing the cigar for you, because if I do that, you may or may not try it. So in the position I'm in, and talking to people on the podcast recently in the last year, it's also the fact that what I like about it is I can compare it to other cigars. So if I know what you smoke, I can give you recommendations. I can give you 3 more recommendations of things that I think you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And chances are 3 out of 3, if not 2 out of 3, you're going to actually enjoy, because it's similar but different. And the other side of it, what I really like doing with cigars and even whiskeys, is and I'm more knowledgeable about cigars, if I know you like these fuller body cigars and you haven't smoked a medium body cigar, I'm going to give you a medium body cigar that might take you completely out of that realm.
BS.
But I think, BS, yeah, or I think you're going to actually enjoy that as well. Because I feel like people get in ruts. And if you go full geek, in a sense, and that's not a negative, but you know what I'm saying, if you go full out nerd on something in any subject, with the cigars or whiskey being the primary examples, you're going to maybe sell yourself short. Because you now have, like, when I hear molasses, when I hear, banana nut bread, when I hear pecans or whatever else, when you hear that stuff, I know I'm gonna like that, I'm gonna try that, but there's a chance that you don't taste that, and now all of a sudden it's like, now you don't trust Jake's palate because it's completely different. Now there's also a chance where you're not gonna try something because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, vanilla, that sounds good, molasses, that sounds good, banana nut bread, I'm not gonna have it, I don't like that, I don't like banana nut bread. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're not gonna drink that. But if I know you like certain whiskeys and I'm like, I do too, and I also like this over here.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like we might have a similar palate, or that might still fall off. But at least in the very basic side of it, I look at it as that if you are enjoying something, you have a common hobby, you have a common taste for something, then I can say, well, I also like this. Have you ever tried this?
Yeah.
It can be a hobby, it can be a taste, it can be, an experience.
Yeah.
And you know what? We have more in common than we thought. And I never thought about trying this whiskey, or I never thought about doing this experience. I vacationed here. We talked about vacation. I vacationed here. Well, that's great. If you like, that sounds amazing. I actually have been there too. I also really enjoyed this over here. And you're like, I never thought about trying something like that. And then you learn from each other.
So you think that's more valuable than doing like a geeked out?
It's not about being valuable. I think it's just
Well, I mean, like in the
different
shop.
purposes.
I mean, in the shop.
In the shop, I will say in the last 6 years doing what I've been doing, I would say I've helped, in my opinion, I've helped more people just branching off of what they like or what they think they like, and then they try new stuff, and then they come back and ask you again, yes. With the ones that ask, typically, they've already done the research, first of all. With the age that we're in with the internet and everything else, with all the blogs, with all the cigar reviews in that industry and reviews on anything, look at Amazon and everything else. You're not going to buy it if it has bad reviews. I mean, that's just the way you're trusting other people. So when you read up on cigars, you come in and you ask me a question, you're like, what has chocolate notes? And you're like, I don't know.
Cigar?
Man. Yeah, like what has chocolate notes? What has
Java Maduro.
What? Yeah, but that's a flavored cigar. Like no, not. I mean, this happens. Like not flavored. Like what has like a I want a dark chocolate note, maybe some molasses. I want some cream, and that's where when you do that, like we had that conversation.
But I'm like that though. Like I take, and you do the same thing. It's weird because you say one thing, and then you say you recognize food flavors in whiskey.
Right.
But you don't do that with cigars, it seems.
I do it with cigars with very, very blatant examples.
Okay.
Spice, white pepper, black pepper, sweetness.
See, I don't even know what white pepper is. I've never tasted it, so I can't.
Yeah. It's just, I utilize the fact, like, more blatant stuff. So when you say, like, it's funny when we talk about it, and that's the other thing that's so cool about it.
The guy said, get the fuck out of here with the chocolate.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So again, if that's what you're looking for, you have to dance around it, and trying to help someone in a retail environment, I think helps out with this. I'm not trying to take away anything from trying to describe the notes. I think both are valuable to different people. We would say everyone buys for different reasons.
I will say something and branch off to what you said. You said, it may, you didn't necessarily say it, but it kind of implied when you miss out on something, if someone tells you nerds out on a cigar or whiskey, and I will say this, and I think is one fault to how I do things, is where it may deter someone, like you said, Steve, where you say that they, what Kai said, like, well, this kind of has like a vanilla or like a chocolate. Well, I don't like vanilla or I don't like chocolate. Well, it turns them off to that cigar,
right.
But because of your palate and what you think it is, that might be something that they would miss out on, that they would really like.
It can.
So I'll say that is like one thing that deters that way of doing things, but I think that's the only way that I resonate with it, because like you, I do the same thing with cigars where I resonate with food flavors,
right,
and spices and different herbs and stuff like that, and I look for that stuff. Like it's kind of like whiskeys when you're first tasting it, there's always going to be a vanilla, there's always going to be an oak, and there's always going to be that dark molasses in there. What's interesting is when you start diving into the fruit notes, and you maybe get like a little cedar in there, wood, something other than an oak taste. You may get some herb in there, or some spice like a black pepper or a white pepper, or, that you don't recognize. And I think that, but that's how I go about, tasting whiskey, and that's how I go about, tasting the cigars. I remember Eric gave me like some advice when I first started smoking cigars, and he said when you first take the first draw in, or every section like throughout the cigar, I put them into thirds. You take one long draw, and then slowly breathe it out, and then put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, almost like last week we talked about like Kentucky Chew, like almost chewing it and getting those flavors out of the smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do, but that's me trying to like personalize myself with that cigar, that whiskey.
Like I said, I think it's great. I think that's something that when you look back, and I'll tie back into the subject of the year in review. Here we go again. We've been doing even this for a long time. I'm gonna have to get quieter chairs for the new garage. Got Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here trying to dance around doing these. It's a chair, guys. You don't have to keep.
I will say this. Kylie said I don't know if this was a joke. Maybe it was a joke. I don't get it, but
Dunkaroos.
I was told very early in learning to taste whatever you taste in whiskey. Say it. The Scotch tastes like shower, certain to you.
Like shower curtain to you.
Yeah,
say it.
Curtain, yeah. Say
No,
it.
Kylie actually has experience before she was in the cigar industry. She had experience as a bartender / I'm not sure exactly what the title was, but she was at Blend in Indianapolis. So there was a lot of so she learned a lot about both industries that we deal with, which is one of the reasons I think that she enjoys this, other than the fact that she gets bored easily and she tunes into Facebook videos. But I think that she learned the fact that you are honest with it. You're honest with what you're tasting, because, and I take the other side of it, which I think is what she might be, whether she's joking or not, I think she's being serious, is that if you taste something, then someone else can relate to it. There's a time where your palate and your memory and recollection of what flavors are and what you're getting out of it. Obviously, there's other things like whatever you ate earlier or drank earlier or smoked and all that stuff. That all impacts it, but that's reading the reviews, that's talking to other people, is that if you talk about the same whiskey and it's not just a single barrel, or if you have the same, like if you and I crack a bottle, we start talking about it the same thing, and then we read reviews on it, and then all of a sudden you realize that when they talk about leather or they talk about oak, it's like the oak, you don't taste oak. When was the last time you chewed on a piece of wood that's oak? That's my point, is that, but you say that like you're gonna get that in every whiskey is oak.
But that's where it comes from, the smell, though.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. That's where you have that agreed upon flavor as a group, as a society. I think that's something that that's part of the education. The shower curtain smell is unique. Some Scotch has that sense to them. I think you need to like spray down or get a new shower curtain. Honestly.
Yeah, but it's one of those things.
That's mildew.
I know.
That's fucking mildew.
I know.
I'm sorry. You need to hire someone or take a Sunday.
I know we make fun of it, but I do.
Kylie, instead of listening to this, or you just go ahead and clean your shower.
What I do like about it, and I know I even make fun of it sometimes, because I'll play devil's advocate here, where people get these weird tastes and weird smells on whiskeys and cigars, and you're like, how did they even arrive at that?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, they're like that's not even a smell or a taste. Like how you're an idiot. And it's like
Kylie got defensive.
Yeah, it's one of those things I think is actually interesting the more that we keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I actually value it, because it's they're personalizing themselves with the whiskey, with the cigars, and it allows people to experience it in a different way. And here's, playing devil's advocate with it, is if someone says something that you disagree on, you think they're an idiot. But if they say that cigar tasted like, Nate said, like he had one guy say that a Christoph tasted like molasses and mayonnaise and cucumber.
Yeah.
Well, you say what the fuck, but it's like if you're that guy that actually gets that scent off of it, that's like the other person, you're like, oh, I get it now, and it's a very cool feeling, I guess. When someone says a different, like we make fun of the fact, like, yeah, this tastes like barnyard. And it's like, well, how could you taste a barnyard? You know what I mean? But it's like that experience.
That's a bad taste in your mouth.
But it's like the orchard, like the apple orchard.
That's good.
You think it's good?
Apple orchard, yeah, for the most part. I mean, it depends what season, I guess. But barnyard, I mean, you hay and shit.
Yeah, hay. Not shit.
Dirty animals.
When does but you're getting too literal with it.
just say hey if you think hey. I mean, if you say barnyard, talk to me about no. Walk me through. What, Jake? What do you think of when you think of barnyard? If I say hey man, close your eyes. I need you and do this. Close your eyes real quick.
Oh my God.
All right.
Go.
All right. So close your eyes, and so you are visiting your friend. You're not eyes are closed.
All right. I'm not closing my eyes. Just talk.
Let me tell you this, and then close your eyes and give me this.
All right.
walk
All right. You're gone.
When you say all right, so I just walked you into a typical barn with animals, barnyard animals, and all the animals are in the barn in their stalls. What are you smelling and tasting in your mouth because of the we talk about relating the scent, the aroma with the flavor? What talk just list those. Is there vanilla?
I'll say this.
Is there answer the question. Answer the question. So what is it? What is it?
So when someone says they're tasting barnyard,
all right,
whiskey,
answer my question specifically.
What am I tasting and smelling when I walk into a barnyard?
Close your I got you blindfolded and say, guess where we are.
Well, the first part I'm thinking of is the barn that I built hay in at when I was in high school.
Okay.
So it smells like hay, right? You have that classic hay smell.
Absolutely.
And there's not shit in it, so I don't get that, but I understand the literal sense of the analogy, or the example. And
no, you're right.
But I'm tasting, I'm smelling the hay, the dust, the mustiness of it, the oak rafters. You have probably like a little bit of motor oil from the guy that has the garage next door.
Right.
And it's that's what it allows the experience to gravitate. Like that's. It may get like we say nerded out, but it allows it to be picturesque and almost poetic.
I think
and a lot of people go overboard with it. I will say that. I mean, listen to like food critics and stuff like that. But it's the same thing when you're talking about whiskey, when you're talking about cigars. I think it brings, if you can resonate with an experience, it allows you to enjoy that cigar or that whiskey that much better.
No, I get it. Actually, the way you described it, I'll give you credit there. As far as I'm concerned, is that type of experience. I mean, it makes sense to a point that you are typically aging tobacco in barns and stuff like that. So I get that part of it.
Yeah,
I get that part of it.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. Like when Alicia said the first time she smoked a cigar, well, this just tastes like hay. That was the first thing out of her mouth.
I think some do have that.
It was BS.
Fucker. Get rid of her.
But it was like a hay.
Alicia, if you're listening, not cool.
I mean, I think it does taste like hay. I mean, it's got that it's dried leaves, for God's sakes.
I want to thank our sponsors for tuning in.
What are you tasting of BS? Let's get on this.
Here we go again. We're not doing that. No.
I know, but what do you
We'll talk about it later.
If
you want to feature the gold, we can feature the gold. I think we did the silver, right?
It's ruining this conversation.
Me?
Yes.
That's typical. So one of the things we've learned in the last year is that typically I ruin the conversation, as Eric Black said.
Focus.
Not focus. He said that I tend to overwhelm others easily, and I'm aggressive personality. And I never go back to that, actually.
You want to talk about it?
Well, I think one of the things we learned in the last year, we had one of those conversations, and I think from what I remember of the conversations was really earlier on, we in a roundabout way agreed that you weren't as comfortable diving into the topic side of it. You were much more comfortable, especially the ones that you knew as far as the bourbons. You were able to talk about that for days, which is great, and I love that, because that was also in the earlier stages of you really embracing the bourbon community and culture. You had a lot going on, and you were just a million miles an hour on that stuff, which was awesome. But one of the things that I was trying to do as we were learning, because I was listening to some of those podcasts you mentioned earlier, is drive the conversation when it was trailing off or it was repetitive or whatever. It was like trying to host it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think that I might have taken the reins early, but then more recently we talked about how, you had become more comfortable with that, and that's where the dynamic shifted, because I didn't necessarily come across to to the viewers and listeners, but most importantly to you, is I'm not trying to drive the conversation necessarily just because of like an egotistical thing or being aggressive. It was literally just trying to frame the show and where we were going with it. And now that you have grown to that point, and you, those are your words, that you've grown more on that. Now all of a sudden we've got another year ahead of us where who knows where the conversations will go.
Yeah.
Because you pick me up where I'm lacking as far as, you know, conversation and maybe certain nights not being in the mood to talk about it as much. And then on the flip side, I'm doing the same with you. And then you throw in guests on top of that.
Yeah.
It's a crapshoot.
Well, like we had the episode with Spencer and, you know, Phil.
Yeah.
Just recently where, you know, we talked about whiskey for a really long time. That was I thought it was a really good episode, but it was one of those episodes all over the place. And even Steve's got me into this place now where I'm like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Where before I was like, let it roll, man. Like, let's just have fun. You know what I mean? And I get that to an extent, but I think that happy medium in those both worlds is a good thing. Like last week, I was happy with it, but I wasn't as happy as I thought I should have been because it was all over the place where we started talking about freaking Christmas movies and stuff like that. And it was fun and it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
But I was like halfway through it, I was honestly thinking in the back of my head, like, what the hell are we talking about?
And tonight we're kind of all over the place, but that's
yeah,
the
but we
year
have a purpose tonight. You know what I mean? Like last week I thought it was just...
You just didn't like the diehard conversation. I understand that.
You're damn right.
I'm sorry I kept drilling down on that.
But see, that's where Steve jokes, and I'm still on the conversation where, no, I actually felt like...
Die Hard
was like,
is not a Christmas movie. I'm sorry.
He like can't shut it off.
I had to.
He like can't shut it off.
No, somebody even said that last night, and yeah.
He can't shut it off, folks.
I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right. There was a time where I was more on that side of it, where I'm just like, the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah, at the beginning you were a lot more serious about this, but I think that was because we were on two different viewpoints.
No, I think some of the topics too initially were the ones where it was we were a little preachy because you know we have some listeners that were like, yeah, you're a little preachy. It's like, is that a bad thing? I'm like, no, but I like the fun ones too, and that's where I think there's some diversity there on what we can talk about.
Yeah,
where,
we've gone completely off the reservation on what we first thought, where it was like, yeah, there should be like this once every 4 episodes we should just get hammered and talk about whatever and let the good times roll.
We can still try that.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean we can do that, but we're 46 episodes and we've never done that. And like that's one of those things where we've evolved, and that would be a great episode because they're all great, but it's not on the radar because we want to push it and do the best work that we can while we're doing this.
Yeah.
And be focused. You know, the episodes where we did get tanked with, you know, Brad on the Kathleen's batch, or actually
we had technical difficulties that night.
Yeah. And those things, and it's like those are good, but, you know, I think of it in a logical sense as, well, if we did do that episode where we did get tanked and we tried to start a conversation, I don't know where it would go, and I'd be afraid of where it would go.
I think we're beyond that.
What I do like is we've gone to a point where we started off hard, I think, and I think where we butted heads was where we were wanting to push it so hard and go to the extra mile, and we wanted it now. So when we would talk about the topic, it would be, well, you want to talk about this, but I want to talk about this. And we were so eager because, excuse me, looking back on it, I think we were so eager on getting the topics out and getting the episodes out.
Yeah.
That we had no patience, and it was just like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get to talk about this soon enough. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, with the topics. I don't know. That's my feeling behind it.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning when we were talking about topics, it was like, well, I want to talk about this and I can talk about this. And then I think, you know, I was kind of willy-nilly and I would roll through it. Again, I wasn't comfortable talking as I am now. But then I felt as long as you were more comfortable talking about that topic, then let it roll. But if there was a topic where you didn't know really what to talk about, then it was definitely a discussion before the podcast. If I may say.
No, that's absolutely the case. Yeah, because that was one of the things where I looked at it where, yeah, you were more of along the lines, and we appreciate you guys listening because this is where we all grow and everything. This is the year in review, right? This can apply to a lot of things in life. But when we're talking about this, it was why do something, and that was the big thing about like doing something with a purpose. It wasn't like, you know, I wanted to like, all right, so we got the bourbon, we got the cigar, we can always figure that out. We can talk about those things, we can look up the information that other people looked up. Like with this one we had tonight, you know, that we didn't know anything about this one. So,
sorry to interrupt, do you ever get like weird hiccups with...
Just in general, like what are weird hiccups?
No, with the Romeo. Like, do you ever get like a hiccup from a cigar because it hits you in the back of the throat?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know. I've had that with a few cigars.
When I've been drinking a lot, yeah.
I've had that with a few cigars. Not when I've been drinking, so, but...
Are you trying to retro it?
No.
Oh.
It's just weird. It's almost like it's that sharp, light taste, and it's airy, I guess I would say. I don't know.
You like that cigar, or don't you?
I think it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the Romeo Reserve Tubo, whatever it is.
That's interesting, though. We might have to go back and look at the episode. So Nate was kind enough, and we never did publish it, and he reminded me in a very sarcastic way tonight that we need to publish that because we did smoke this before, and I'd be interested to see how sometimes that changes, too.
Yeah, I don't know what I would say.
What Jake said the last time on that.
I was probably being nice and said, oh, yeah, it's great. No, I'm just honest and more focused.
Focused.
What were you saying? No, sorry.
I don't know. I was interrupted. I honestly...
You really don't know where you're at?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
No, we were talking about the fact that, you know, at the beginning where if you wanted to talk about an episode and I felt...
doing things with a purpose.
Yeah, like doing things with a purpose.
I think we actually have now made it more natural, and I think that's something that, when I was saying, it applies to a lot of different arenas of life. When we talk about all those things, like relationships, with work, with personal life, with goals and everything else. But I think there is something that goes into that where as things evolve, you don't, and this is my opinion, that Jake, you think that it's less the case now, but now that you are at that level of where you feel like you can contribute to the topic conversation, before it was like, let's just see where it goes. That was like a little like white flag or like a kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. But if I'm looking at the fact that we want to try to fill a show, and if we just say, hey, this is the topic, and it's just completely vague, and it's like, what are we talking about? I don't know. You never want to go into this. I'm not saying scripted, but not just go into it, and then all of a sudden we're doing Facebook Live, and we're recording this. If it was just that thing like Eric, I think it was Eric Black that said something that he really liked the fact that we have these live episodes.
Yeah.
It is different than a lot of podcasts, but there are a lot of podcasts that we could usually be like look at each other like, I have nothing else to fucking say right now. So then all of a sudden you stop it, and we're recording that night that we're all together and we're doing this, and then it's like, all right, let's get some bullet points up on the board real quick. Like, what are we going to talk about the rest of this episode? Like, this didn't work out. We're doing it so much in the fact that it's just live, so you want to have at least a grasp, not like bullet points or anything else, but if you don't talk about it.
You can't have a grasp on the garage door coming up automatically, though.
I'm saying a grasp on the topic. I'm not saying like you can always have things come up.
I know, it's just interesting to think about it like that because you can't predict like what's going to happen in this garage.
No, I'm not saying that, but now you actually go into it and you can bullshit. You can be more open with your thoughts and actually listen and not, because I remember you said something to me where you were just going to say, well, you know, I just kind of didn't talk for a while because I'm just listening to it and I didn't know what to say, and then I was thinking about trying to contribute, and then I was going to say something, and that was like, it was like little bursts, you know what I mean? It wasn't just free-flowing conversation.
Well, because I didn't want
Because when we would sit in this garage, when we were before recording it and doing the Whiskey Wednesdays, we would have hour-long conversations, and they were from the heart, there was no one listening and everything else, but you know, when we started recording it, I think that was our big thing. It's like, I knew that you had that, and I knew that we had that, because we had those conversations for weeks, months on end, as we were becoming better friends, and we were like having these conversations. Then all of a sudden we turn the mic on, and I'm like, yeah, we want to actually like get that out to people because they are having those conversations, they want to.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, doing things with a purpose. Lucky says a soft script with room for flux.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a good point, and I think, it's interesting to me, and I guess I didn't realize, this is where Steve and I grew, where when we first hit the mic, like that first night, like Steve, like, if I may, like I thought you just like change, like you have a role, like in the podcast, and I wasn't used to that because this is about as acted up as you're gonna get me as on the podcast.
Hey, if Ray Cheshire's listening out there, like let's talk about millennials.
Well, I mean, acted up as I mean.
I know you mean.
As I mean, I don't change like characters. You don't change characters either, but you have more pep in your step when we're talking on the podcast, and I wasn't used to that. Right. And let's be honest, folks, when you're sitting in a cigar shop and you're talking about this stuff, you may not talk for 5 minutes. Obviously, we can't do this on this podcast.
Right.
But I think that's what like threw me off guard at the beginning, and looking back on it, it's definitely interesting. And we had like a rough patch. And I don't want. It sounds like we're in this relationship together.
Hey, everyone's got relationships.
But it's funny because we did have like a rough patch where we just like completely disagreed on some stuff, and it got down to the point where I started analyzing things about like where do we go from here, and then you start looking at like, well, why do I react to certain what you say, or why do you react to something that I say differently. And what it really comes down to is being honest with each other and talking about like, well, what you want, what do I want, what do you think about me, what do I think about you, and then that's how you grow from there. Because if you can't have complete transparency, there's no way to grow from there. And I think that's what our problem was. And I don't want to just talk about the problems, because there was a lot of good times where we would, get up after the podcast and it's like, wow, that was a great conversation, and we hope that everyone loved it. But I think it's just about the process. I don't want to get all motivational on people. But
get motivational. It's not shying away from that, because you have motivation. Like shit, you have that whole win the day thing.
I do, but it's not like I don't want to tell people how to live their lives, because that's one thing that I've learned in the last year, like 2018, is I don't want to be like all my friends at the effing gym, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy anymore where, and I'll get completely honest, I don't want to be that guy anymore where, I'm trying to motivate people when I'm, 23 years old.
Why not?
Because I don't have a right to tell people how to live their lives.
So motivation, I think, is different. You can let's go to inspire people.
Yeah.
Inspiration. So the whole point of this is that that's one of the things that we talked about. And I'm going to get to Eric Black's question here, but
I like inspiration better than motivation. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think for you that's a semantics thing. I mean, because you have a negative connotation of the motivational thing, you had a very strong.
It's probably about my past too.
You had a very strong but I think you had a very strong opinion of these people that are trying to be the Instagram fitness models, the Instagram,
they're all saying the same shit.
That's okay, but they look at people that a year ago didn't have any followers. Now all of a sudden they have 1 million followers. Now all of a sudden they're actually getting sponsored. Now they're actually making money off of it and all that. It's like
kudos to them, man.
I think it's
great.
Not. So you can't knock someone for trying that, but again, that's one of the things we did here is that you're saying you don't want to like tell people how to live their life. This is, in a sense, is not like the bourbon, the whiskey, the topics, and everything else. It's not about telling people what to do with their lives. It's about telling your opinion. Yeah. And the validation that you need to give yourself, Jake, and everyone out there, in my opinion, and maybe I'm getting to that motivational side, but it's motivation about being confident. It's not about you need to go do this, you need to go that. Give yourself some fucking validation.
Yeah.
And so when we look back at the year, I think we've done a lot of good things on this. On the episodes that we disagreed on, the episodes that we had a lot of positive feedback on, the negative feedback, all that stuff, everything.
What are you doing over there, Nate?
How are there crickets in December?
I don't think that was a cricket.
It's a steering bell, yeah.
Definitely a raccoon.
All right. No, so Eric Black just chimed in. He said, "You are not telling people how to live their lives, but you have an opinion. You can share that, and how you live your life is an example." And I think that's the inspiration.
That's exactly what I do.
But then other people look at inspiration and they turn it into like, again, that devotional thing and like live like me.
But
that's
I
a
laugh at
semantics
that.
thing. That's a semantics.
I
Inspiration is like don't do what I say, but look to me for inspiration. It's the same goddamn thing as motivation. It's just not a bumper sticker all the time.
I get it. I do get it.
Eric said, so Lucky also chimed in, it's sharing information. People do what they want. To think we, quote, tell anyone how to live is a bit egotistical. That's right.
Oh, yeah. And our audio listeners, I'm shaking my head rapidly.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what it is. Because, here's what makes me mad about it. And we had a podcast a long time ago, talking about our year in review where we talked about motivational quotes. That was the topic of discussion. And, the thing that irritates me is that it keeps breeding itself. And that's why I talk about it. And it's not, I don't down the people that do create a business out of it, but you better goddamn well have done something with your life if you're going to do that. Because
but there again lies the problem in my opinion. Is like, again, we have a year in review. Like, we don't have this thing figured out. And earlier on, I remember people asking, like, they'd message or they'd have a friend and I hear you do a podcast and I wanted to see how to get started and how you guys get more viewers and all that stuff. And we're like, well, we're not sure, but we're doing it right now. We're
that's
growing
one of those
slowly.
perfect examples where you're just like, because I don't know about you, or is that what you were saying? Like, you've had friends reach out and say, I want to start a podcast too. Like, we even had a question on the live where it's like, hey, I want to start a podcast. Like, how did you guys do it?
Yeah.
And I've had that on a personal, social media where I've had a few friends ask and I say, well, I don't know the right way to do it, but this is how we did it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, and I do look at semantics because that could mean something different to someone else. It's kind of like we were talking about the whiskeys and the cigars. It may deter somebody, but it may add value differently to more people if you do it that way. What I loved about it is when you started giving me motivational advice and telling me to give myself some credit, you say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I look at little finer details of that when you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Because if you're just out there, just belting out all this stuff, I look at that as you're just arrogant. And you're, trying to make money because of our world and, the motivation.
What pays the bills?
I get it. But, you want to talk about a purpose and adding value to people's lives. Are you really doing that? Or are you just trying to...
I think some people do think they are.
We're talking about ethics too, and I'm not... I'm just talking here.
I tell you what, I don't knock anyone to do that. And I look at this, again, we're going back to the year in review. I think...
I'm laughing because it's fun, man.
I gotta get back in.
But this is fun.
Yeah. I look at it as, if you're inspiring people, if you're motivating people, whatever you're doing this has had an impact on people. You see new listeners coming in. Eric Black wasn't in the mix earlier on. Lucky, if I'm not mistaken, Lucky is tuning in this entire episode so far, and she wasn't a part of this for a long time.
Now we have Sarge.
And now we have Sarge. So it's different. David Willard just chimed in. I look at it as, if you believe in it, if you have positive experiences when you're actually talking to people and they say thank you, like you and I had earlier on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the age thing. It wasn't I had experiences previous that were similar. That I've always been that person. It's like, I don't like necessarily talking about myself. It's not the egotistical thing, but that's, I think, the most easy way. That's the easiest way to relate to someone, is you're hearing someone, and if they are open, when they open their ears, they open their heart to what you're saying, they're giving you a problem. And all I can say is, if I don't know the answer, I was in a similar situation, in my opinion, and this is what I've gone through, and I've either A, not figured it out yet, and I'm still struggling with it, B, this is how it worked out for me, or C, this is how someone that I know that actually succeeded, that I'm trying to learn from, has done well from it.
Yeah.
Now it's on you.
We should have a discussion on giving advice.
That'd be a good one. So that's actually a great way to to lead into another side of this.
Where? I want to see where this goes.
Nah. So one of the things we kicked around this topic, and we're pushing the 2 hour mark. So Nate, you're gonna have to watch, or Dustin, Nate, you have a better view of the camera for Facebook Live. But if this cuts off again, I hope it doesn't, because I have no problem going forward with it. And if it does, Facebook Live, we're gonna stop and then rebroadcast.
Yeah, I know.
But Eric Black says, so as part of year in review, what do you want to do in next year that is better / different / change? One of the things that I wanted to really push forward, and we're going to actually lead into next week's topic.
We're visually appealing, though, Steve. Maybe just you, not me.
Who said that?
Lucky.
I gotta look at this. So Lucky, I really don't listen. You're just visually appealing. She literally has it on mute, I assume. And thank you. Do you agree?
With you? I'm not. I don't.
With
swing
Lucky.
that way. What?
Do you? You obviously don't agree with me. That's clear. We've covered that. If you want to know if Jake agrees with me,
I don't.
There's 45 episodes previous to this one that
Exactly.
we can prove that.
Exactly. Do I agree with Lucky that you're appealing?
I think we're both handsome dudes. I agree. Thank you,
Yeah,
Lucky,
I'm
and thank you
I'm
for
getting
saying
low
what
weight.
everyone's thinking.
Gained a little weight, but I'm good.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What'd you say though before I interrupted you?
I don't know.
What Eric
They
said?
were both ridiculously good looking.
What did Eric say? What did?
No, so he was asking about how do you move forward, or like it was what do you want to do in the next year that is better, different, change? That's part of the year in review. So I always look at this from a business standpoint. We had this, I think I mentioned it on this podcast before, the SWOT analysis. And SWOT spelled SWOT.
Oh,
Have you ever heard of this?
no.
So you
That
guys
was,
have seen it in this, your businesses, right? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay.
Can you elaborate that?
Yeah. So strengths and weaknesses are internal. What are your strengths for this last year? What are your weaknesses?
Yeah.
You can also translate that into the next year. So you have your proven strengths, and that's all through numbers and growth that you've seen strength in. Weaknesses are something that you have this weakness of something that you need to get better at, or something that you know that you are deficient at. And then that's all internal. So that's internal to the company, that's internal on you, like whatever you want to actually really focus on. But the opportunities and threats, that's external.
Got it.
So when you look at opportunities, it's you take your strengths and weaknesses, and then you look at the opportunities and what can you do to expand what you're trying to accomplish in your everyday life, in your everyday business, whatever it might be. What are the new avenues that you can actually reach out to and grow? So like with the podcast, it's there. We know our strengths and weaknesses. We've been talking about that week in, week out recently. And then you have your opportunities. We talk about like t-shirts. We talk about like sponsorships. We talk about sponsoring our own posts. We talk about, what's that? Equipment. We talk about, growing. Like, so we can have better audio, we can have better video, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The threats are a lot of outside factors as well. So when you look at your competition, you look at threats like if Facebook all of a sudden says, hey, you're not allowed to do any more live broadcasts.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, so now we have Facebook saying we can't do live broadcasts, and that's where our biggest viewership and biggest response and our biggest gathering is. Now what do we do?
Or some dude saying that we're using his intro and we got to change our music.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you have people saying that you're infringing upon what they're already doing.
A free thing.
We already talked about that.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did weeks ago.
Oh, did we? Okay. Well, I'm still on it.
Do you want more
Of what?
whiskey?
No, I'm good.
All right. So I look at the SWOT analysis as something that you can apply to a lot of things. And
SWAT.
SWOT, S-W-O-T.
I was just repeating it for
Yeah.
our listeners there.
Well, I mean, again, people that have done this in small, medium, larger businesses. This is something that's been around for a long
I've
time.
never heard of it.
It's something that's a year in review. That's your big thing there, is that when you come to it, and a lot of people talk about, you use the calendar year, the fiscal year, whatever it is, but there's a definitive moment on the calendar that you're supposed to turn a new page, and that's one of the things that we talked about is, and what I was saying earlier is that it would lead into next week's conversation, which is going to be the 26th, the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
Where we have an individual coming on that has started a business about meal prep and meal plans.
Very new.
Yeah, so very, very cool. But that's a classic thing. New year, I'm going to do this. New year, I'm going to do that. New year, I'm going to do that. So when Eric, you asked the side of what are you going to take from this? What do you want to do the next year that's better, different, and change? One of the things we talked about, here we go again, is the other side of that phrase is 2018 is over.
Yeah.
Here we go again, 2019. Because that's something that a lot of people actually can relate to, that they live their lives, and New Year's resolutions don't always, typically they don't pan out.
They don't last.
They don't pan
Or they
out.
change.
And so that's where it's like, when I look at something like that, I love the question, what to do in the next year that is better, different, and change. We're constantly doing that, and that's what I encourage people to do. And I'm not trying to motivate, I'm not trying to, I don't want to dive into that part. But it's that aspect where you don't have to wait for a date. You don't have to wait for. We talk about that with Christmas on the holiday one. We talk about Valentine's Day on episode 2. We talk about a lot of. You don't have to wait for some moment where you have to make a huge change or make a huge gesture.
I love how the Valentine's Day episode always gets brought up every time.
I love that one.
I get what you're saying, though. I do. I hope our listeners do. When you're talking about SWOT analysis and doing like what we're doing, I don't think any episode is the same, and that's why I fought so hard at the beginning for. No, I'm good. I fought so hard at the beginning for that, not so structured out episode, because I didn't want every episode to be different. And yeah, like there's some moments where, we got when we had Ian on, we got up to that 3-hour mark. And at the beginning, we were talking about when podcasts were around that 3-hour mark, we were it's really, really long. And at first we had a lot of people talking about it. And now we don't really have many people talking about it, because we answered them hey, it's our podcast and it's going to be...
Listen to what you want.
Yeah, and so, I think we've developed that happy medium finally, where we both kind of understand that every episode is not going to be the same. We need to somehow have a structure, and if that structure changes, it's okay. Throughout the podcast as it goes along.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect metaphor as to a year, right? If you look at one of our podcasts as a full year, we have all this going into, you have a mindset on what's going to be said or what you're going to say during the podcast, and then someone starts talking about something else and it piques your interest, and now you want to talk about it. And then it leads into a bigger conversation. It rolls into something else. I mean, it's classic. I call it barroom talk or cigar shop talk. But I think that's a good metaphor for that, where if it's your year and you have this resolution, and that's next week too when we talk about it. But
yeah.
I think when, if your year you have this resolution where something starts, and if there's something that drastically changes that, that's something you can't control. But if you go off your word and not do something about it, then it's on you.
Well, and what I was trying to say is that, to that point, is that it doesn't have to have the significant date. It doesn't have to have the New Year. It doesn't have to have the holiday. The reason I brought up the Valentine's, because I do like that episode. I thought it was a very raw one. It was episode 2, so it was after what you were mentioning earlier. And we were trying to figure ourselves out, but that was a longer episode, and we...
It was 3.5 hours.
And I think there's a lot of good things covered there.
Was it 2? Okay,
It was
cool.
the first.
Dustin likes correcting me on the podcast.
You're welcome.
my point is that what I was getting at is so to Eric's question and to the whole thing, here we go again, don't do it with a year thing. Don't do it with the New Year's resolutions. It's like, if you want to start eating cleaner, which we're going to talk about next week,
yeah.
Don't wait until I'll start eating clean on Monday.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to start eating clean on Monday. Now I'm going to start eating clean on Monday. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, so it's January coming up. I'm going to eat clean
on January 1st.
On January 1st. Like, you don't have to do it with that. You can do it. And that's what we've been talking about this whole time. That's why I like doing this year in review, because in my mind, I was looking at the fact that when we're thinking of the topic, we talked about the fact that we're starting a new year. Here we go again. That's why I like that phrase of it, and we are pushing 2 hours into this. And that's where I like looking at this aspect of it's every day. It's always changing. So when you get to there's been a lot of years where it's like the New Year's resolution is like, what's your New Year's resolution? I'm like, I don't know.
Stay consistent.
Well, that's all year round. You know what I mean? So your New Year's resolution is to continue to do what I'm doing, like to have that maintaining level, the growth, the like we joke about it, like the focus, everything else is you're constantly doing this. So my New Year's resolution this year going forward is to continue to grow off of what I've been doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I like my job. I'm going to keep trying to grow that and try to be creative on how to do that. Love the podcast. I'm going to keep doing that. I want to keep growing. And that has been a consistent thing all year round. So going into 2019, it's the only big differences is, you know, the fact that Steve's Garage is going to maybe move down the street or, you know, street over. Yeah. So now it's like my New Year's resolution is to continue to grow as a person and do that. And now there's something that the people that came over to my house before were the people that were in the garage now, and several other people over the years. Now it's 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So now when I look at it, it's like I was looking at a house. I mean, I talked to you, Jake, and I'm like, yeah, it's a great house. There's no garage.
Right.
Like I would love to do it, and a year ago I might have thought about it.
Yeah.
And so now it's everything building up to this is this moment today. That's where you look at New Year's resolutions. Here we go again. You wake up tomorrow. Here we go again. That "here we go again" statement, I think, really resonates to me. That when you talk about New Year's resolutions, when you talk about year in review, that is a constant battle.
Yeah, it is.
It's a constant, not struggle, but a constant journey that you want to keep pushing
every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think when I think about the podcast, it's like what I would like to grow is the fact that we finally do the shirts, because I think that would be great. I'd like to do glassware, and then do that patron thing. I would love to see if our viewers would support us in giving us like a little bit of money, if you guys would be willing to do that, but we can talk about that at a later date. But I mean, those are just simple steps I think that would grow this, and really actually I think we just need to your point, Steve, with yourself, just be consistent like we have been doing with the podcast, where it's, you know, it'd be one thing, you know, there's a lot of podcasts out there that try to start and they don't do a set date, you know, and as I say that, you know, we're doing this on a Sunday, but it still drops, the audio drops every Friday, and we've pretty much, I mean, we stuck to that. So yeah. It's one of those things where, you know, I know podcasts that, you know, they take like 3 or 4 months off, and then they try to like rebrand themselves and do a whole
people are growing with us, man.
Different podcast, and I was like, that. I mean, that's great and everything, and but it's not. If you really care about your podcast, I don't think that's the right thing to do.
No.
And if it's just like your side hustle, then fine. But if you really want to grow something and build a community like we have, I don't think that's even a question.
No, I think the people that have been watching the whole time have seen us evolve, and they've been listening the whole time. They've seen us evolve, and we've taken that feedback along with the other people that are newer listening. We take it all seriously, but some of the more I guess to heart feedback that I've taken over the last year are the people that have listened to us the entire time.
Yeah, and I
like that, and to the point of we have someone that is tuning in right now on Facebook Live.
Like the guy in the garage.
Well, no, but like even the Skywise.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Yeah, what's up? How are you guys doing? Or how you guys doing?
Good.
Like, I've never seen that name pop up before in a comment.
Are you still on here, Sky?
I don't know if Sky's still on, but that's one of the things that, to Eric's point about the fact that we take live feedback the entire time, the fact that we're raw to a point, even though we talk about this, we try to continue to grow as far as preparation and everything. But when it gets down to the night of, no matter if it's a Sunday, if we have to do it, and the reason we're doing it is because life gets in the way, but we still want to do it, the two of us, and get the product out there so that you guys can still enjoy it, whether it be live on Facebook after the fact or YouTube.
And I mean, there's sometimes I question the Facebook Live because I would like to do the YouTube and like fine tune it to where we could do like a video and maybe put like some cool music in there and put, you know, questions up on the screen and do stuff like that. But it's like, you know, feeding into where your niches are, and I think that's our niche that we've tapped into that I don't think a lot of podcasts have done.
So if we want to do that, and you guys tell us what you want to do, is we can do the Facebook Live, and the YouTube product is, right now is literally just the Facebook video that we post. If you like, we can always do it even because that takes time. Obviously, you know,
right.
Jake's got a full-time gig right now. I have a full-time gig, and at the same time, it's like right now, it's like I can't meet on Wednesday because I'm going to be doing open to close, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock for the next week and a half, whatever. So that's where we want to do it. We can always delay the episodes on YouTube the week. People that listen on YouTube, they're just a week or so behind.
Yeah.
We can go back and edit all that stuff and take the Facebook Live video that saves, and then we can edit that and try to make it fancier.
Right.
And I have no doubt in my mind that we might have more cameras in the future, that we might actually edit that and do that. But right now, what I love about the strengths of Facebook Live and what we're doing is the audience participation.
It's the interaction for sure, and that's definitely what, you know, you talk about adding value. I can't see anything else that adds more value than that. You know what I mean? And to our viewers and listeners, you know, let us know if that's something that you would like to see us, you know, go down that road, maybe with the YouTube and you know, still doing the Facebook Live, but you know, maybe fine tuning it a little bit video wise.
That's my question to you, Jake. Is like, why the fuck are people listening to us sit around in a garage right now? There's two
I don't know if
people.
you should question that on live.
No,
right
do it.
now.
What I'm saying is to you is why the hell, if there's not a desire or need out there to interact and enjoy this? I mean, like, look at fucking reality TV. You know what I mean? That's something that is so anymore, so scripted, so edited. Now you're back in the actual raw essence of reality TV.
Yeah.
That you're sitting there, you're interacting with us, and that's where it's the fact that we're smoking cigars, we're drinking whiskey, and we're relating to each other and everyone else. I love the fact that not only do we have a couple of other people in the garage, but we have people out there listening that they keep tuning in when it's convenient for them, and then we get feedback after the show. But during the show, there is a third dynamic. It's not just you, it's not just me. Fourth dynamic, it's not just the guest. It's literally however many people that are tuning in over time. What's going to be crazy is in the next year in review and going forward is when that thing where it's bouncing between like 10 and 20 at a time that ends up being 1,000 views at the end of the 2 to 3 hour episode.
Yeah, we got like 100 people.
If there's like 100 people commenting, now Dustin and or Nate, you know, like as they're here, whoever's here, you know, like behind here hanging out, that's where those guys are going to really like probably have to be talking to each other like they've been doing a little bit tonight. Is that they're going to be like, all right, so you talk to this person, and I'll talk to this person.
How does
I
have glitter on me?
What did I say earlier?
It's on your side of the table.
You do too, Steve.
Fucking herpes. It's fucking
What?
everywhere.
No,
I said I was like
that was aggressive.
We talked about it earlier. You don't remember that? It's literally.
I do remember that.
Glitter bomb. Oh, now everyone's got glitter on. Oh, there's coal everywhere. God damn it.
Are we good with this episode? Or you want to move on to closing remarks?
We'll do closing remarks. Go ahead.
All right. No, I agree with you. I think this has really came a long way, and you know, looking back on the year and looking forward to the new year is where it's funny you said like don't put a date on it, but regardless of if you want to put a date on it or not,
You're gonna put a date on it.
there is a date.
There always is.
There's a date and there's a New Year's resolution, and that ball drops. I mean, everything. It's weird that sometimes, you know, for a split second, like everything changes, and it's like, you know, you turn a page and in your lifetime, and you start something new, or you think differently about yourself. And I think it's great, but I don't like looking at it as an excuse for others either.
Right.
So, and I think that's when you look at the problem of that, that's the problem. But when you look at the good side of it, it allows people to start something that maybe they're not ready for if they're not happy with their life on December 16th and they want to change something. It allows them to prepare for that on January 1st. But let's not mistake that in saying don't wait till January 1st. You prepare that time to get ready for that.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But it's the same thing with us. It's like, you know, I look, there's bullet points in my head, you know, when I look at our SWOT analysis for the podcast, and it's like you know, I think in our mind we really need to look at, we talked about like a pyramid thing for sponsorships where we have, you know, bronze.
Don't say
Pyramid.
Yeah,
No.
that sounds bad. Pyramid scheme sounds bad.
All right, well.
Tiers, yeah,
okay.
tiers.
Okay. Shows you how much business I know. Anyways, I think when you talk about tiers, it's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, and we really need to get on that where we're, you know, talking to our Altadis sponsorships and talking to our Tinder Box sponsorships and seeing like how much more we can get, you know, farther and what more we can add now that our viewerships are up. And it's, you know, it's really talking about what can we add value to our sponsorships? What can our sponsorships add value to us?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I think that's a good business lesson for entrepreneurs out there. And I think the future's bright for us in the upcoming year. And I don't even look at January 1st as our upcoming year. Episode 52 is our year.
Yeah.
And that'll be in February. But I think we've grown a lot, and I think there's nowhere but up for us, really. And I'm glad to be on here. I'm glad we created it.
I'm glad we are too, and I'm glad that we made it. You always say, it's funny, this is one of the few episodes recently that you said, hey, we made it to episode blank.
Yeah.
And then you don't say it. It's something that I look at as a year in review. First of all, like, I'll say this about this episode. Think about where we're at right now. We started a podcast, so anyone out there listening, I mean, whatever you're into, if you have more development than we have had, or you're more aggressive, because remember, this is a side project for us, so it's something that we don't always put as a priority. When we have to record, it's a priority. When we have to drop the episode, priority. When we have to do, you know, there is priority to it, but not paying the bills, and I'm sorry we wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be buying bottles of whiskey, we wouldn't be, you know, doing all this if we didn't pay the bills. But here's what
a day job?
Pay the bills.
Oh.
This isn't paying the bills, and that's not what we're looking for. Sponsorships and all that stuff, it'd be great to get to that point at some point.
These super nice people, just saying.
No, I'm saying, like, if you not the bike thing. Patreon. So the Patreon side of it is, if you guys would do that, that's great, because it alleviates us. It allows us to continue to do it when we have real life situations happen.
And at the end of the day, I don't think it would even pay our bills. It would just be a way to grow us, where we get a table, table, do a nice, you know, bar rack on the back, do a nice camp. Dude, I got it all.
That's great. At the very least, we have
ready for this patron thing.
At the very least, we didn't pay for the bottle.
Yeah.
We have the cigars taken care of so far. We got the bottle taken
care of. It's normally me, people, just to let you know.
All right. You want to continue your closing remarks?
No, I'm good. I'm playing Steve tonight.
And there you go again. I feel like I might have lost my thought.
Well, now you're playing Jake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I'm not the one that normally, interrupts. But what I was actually saying was, because I didn't lose my train of thought, was we have full circle. So we're coming to the end of the year. We're talking about year in review. What I like about this podcast is you're looking around. We have the first cigar. None of this was part of it earlier on. So when you're looking at, you want to actually, when you look at that SWOT analysis, one of the things that I say is a strength of ours that we've gained through all this, and the flip side of it is a thread if it pulls out, like you were talking about, like the Altadis thing and doing sponsorships. So at this point, the first cigar is provided by the Tinder Box at Easton, one of our sponsors. So initially, even though that we had some sort of a great discount, we were still buying cigars, buying the whiskey. So every week it was a cost to us to do this. Now we've got the fact that we have someone providing the first cigars and second cigars, which is amazing. Tonight, we had a great example of the fact that, and Nate actually commented, because he and Dustin both have done it as guests, where they provide the bottle. We had Miguel do that. We had Ian do that. We've had other guys do that have been on the show, which is amazing. All the guys, I'm not going to name off everyone, but they've brought that. So the fact that Jake and I are doing this and actually being the hosts of not only the podcast, but of the community, now all of a sudden tonight, literally today, within the last 12 hours, we have a new story, right, from our life experiences and also talking about the podcast and everything else. We have a new listener, maybe more after that. But the bottle that we featured tonight was from someone that literally I met today that wanted to support because they believe in stuff that they may not even know about, but the fact that they met me at the Tinder Box and it was part of the culture that created this. Now all of a sudden you have someone that wants to be a nice person because that's who they are today, no matter what they were before. Year in review, they've grown to this point. They've learned a lot. They've learned a lot of good things and bad things about themselves and what they want to do. I don't know Sarge's story, but the fact that we have enjoyed this bottle, that's my year in review for the podcast. Not even diving into the personal life, not even diving into what you've gone through. We've talked about it on a weekly basis with personal, with job and everything else, myself included. I've talked about a bit of it. But when it comes down to it, the year in review is that this is where we've grown to. So I get the side of it that you look at the calendar and you have this New Year's resolution, where do we grow from here? But I used to do that. I don't want to do that anymore, where I actually say the Monday thing or the New Year thing, or, and I even did that with the podcast. Like, hey, so when we start the new year, this is when we do the new sponsorship thing. This is when we do the t-shirt thing. This is when we do whatever we're talking about, because it's easy to procrastinate to a finite date that everyone agrees with.
Yeah.
So for 2019, we're going to do this. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Everyone listening doesn't have to do that. It's just, it's not necessary. It's a constant growth, and we talk about it on a lot of different episodes where it's a continuing growing experience, where that is something I think that when we look back at this conversation tonight is the fact that those arguments, those drunken nights that we had, the sober following days where we sort all that stuff out, you said we were eager to do something. I don't see anything wrong with that. What I like about what we've done and what people in the community have done that are listening right now on the podcast, whatever listener they're listening to, people on Facebook Live, people are listening on YouTube, if you guys are listening at this point, it's the fact that you address the issues as they come up. And the best thing that I think you can do that you can apply to the relevancy of a New Year's resolution is the structure of it. I think the structure of it is that you recognize that you have strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, but do not wait for the year end, because that might be your big powwow. That might be the big thing that it's just easier to have like a sales meeting or a company meeting, or like Jake and I look at it, we get together, right before the new year, and we're like, all right, so what are our goals? It's easy to do that, but if you fail on the everyday stuff, it's just delaying the problems. It's delaying the attributions that are strengths to grow off of those. So that's my big thing. So a year in review for me is, I love what we've done so far. I love the fact that we have so many people that I have yet to meet that are in the community. And we'll always say, if you guys are enjoying it, share it.
Yeah.
Tell someone about it. Share it on social media. Just physically tell someone about it that you think that they might enjoy, and we continue to grow this, because that's what I love. Like, that's where I think we really build off this Facebook Live thing, is that this translates to people that are listening on other formats. That's where you get to the point where the conversation turns from 10, 20, 30 people at any given moment, but it turns into 1,000 people tuned in, to like 100, 200 people at a time tuning in.
Yeah. No
matter what the night is and what their life is going through, they want to actually oh man, it's Wednesday night, I got to get out there and I got to sit there and smoke a cigar and tune into Facebook, like Sarge did tonight.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I texted him and said, thank you so much. Now all of a sudden he's like, yeah, no, I'm tuning in tonight. I'm on the bus. We're like, yeah, we'll tune in.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he fucking did.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So let's thank our sponsors and cheers it.
Thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, for providing the CAO Pilon, Ricky Rodriguez, and all those guys did a great job. Thank you, Altadis Cigars USA, for providing the Romeo and Julieta Reserva in the tube. And thank you, BS Cigar Company. Brian and Steve made a great cigar.
You're already smoking it.
Smoking the gold right now. We always have, pretty much that's the third one of the night. And again, thank you, Sarge, Mark, for bringing the Old Dominick, whatever.
Still can't say it.
Yeah, Huley station. It was really, really good. You guys make great stuff, even though it comes out of MGP.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. High rye, mash bill. It's been a really good night. It's been good, looking back on episode, and it's been good. So.
And Merry Christmas to those that celebrate Christmas. We will not see you until the 26th.
Yeah, we won't. So have a great Christmas.
Absolutely. And with CAO Pilon, if you're in the Columbus area, if you want to shop over the phone, give us a call. 15% off the CAO Pilon.
Yep. What are the hours of Tinder Box this past week? Next week, sorry.
Pretty much all of them.
Which is
8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Sunday will be 10 to 6, and Christmas Eve will be 8 to 6.
There you have it, folks.
Do not call me at 5:30 and say, how late are you guys staying open? Because I will say, Merry Christmas, go fuck yourself.
Alrighty. On that note, cheers everyone. Happy Sunday, fun day.
Love all you guys.
Whiskey
Cheers.
Wednesday. You get mad there for a second?
No, oh well.
Am I interrupted?